we're live.
All right, and it tasted good. I actually never had it before, so I took it out of the fridge. I took a sip, and I was like,
Now you're going to associate it with winter.
It's a winter shandy.
The first time you're having it.
Do they make a winter shandy?
I think they do.
What is it? Is it Leinenkugel, right? That makes it?
I think that, yeah.
They make a winter something or other. Leinenkugel is like the it's like
is it the Miller Lite of those
like
kind of beers?
Team to craft beer. Like
God.
It's like a stepping stone, I guess.
So just everything I drink is the Miller Lite of that thing.
Yeah, it's Miller Lite's the Miller Lite of Miller Lite.
How you doing, John?
Everyone that's listening is completely not in the know of what's going on, but that's okay.
Nor should they be.
Welcome to episode 1. Episode 1 of the Popko Project Podcast. We're doing it. I can't believe it. It's a new era.
Excited.
It's a new era. But
hey, yeah.
You know what? Why don't you just catch me up and tell me how this show came about?
I don't know either, so this is new to me too.
Brilliant. So it would be perfect segue into how this came about. But as you can see on the screen, I'm joined by Rob and Ted Felicetti. Rob is in the band Bowling for Soup. They had a song you may have heard of before, Stacy's Mom, 1985. And I was really actually surprised at the number of listens on Spotify. I thought Stacy's Mom would have been number 1, and it's not.
Well, I'm sure the Fountains of Wayne version is.
Well, for them.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
No.
I'll give you the. So basically, I can't tell if it was a joke. Now I think the joke's silly. So,
is it a joke on me?
No.
No.
Stacy's Mom. Correct me if I'm speaking and you already know this. The song Stacy's Mom is by a band called Fountains of Wayne.
Yes.
You knew that. Okay.
Yeah.
People have mistakenly thought it was Bowling for Soup for a long time before everything was much easier to access.
Like Napster.
Napster with
the wrong title.
Like wrong title things. And so people thought it was a Bowling for Soup song. So then the band just started playing it live. And then the band recorded a version of it. So Bowling for Soup recording of Stacy's Mom is it gets very complicated. So that's as complicated as it gets.
All right.
So I would think the Spotify numbers on that are lower than
they are lower.
Bowling for Soup song.
But then Jarrett wrote songs with the guy from Fountains of Wayne, right?
Yes, he did.
And he wrote like a bunch of the bigger songs.
The only
like this weird
that was the single was with Jarrett. So Adam from Fountains of Wayne and Jarrett both wrote the Bowling for Soup song "High School Never Ends." Adam also wrote. I think it's a little added funny bonus about the whole who wrote what song and did this. Is Adam also wrote That Thing You Do from the movie. He wrote that song.
Yep.
And I remember, and my wife listening to Bowling for Soup said the song Trucker Hat sounds just like the song That Thing You Do. So to me, I thought it was another little silly thing where the guy who wrote a song with Jarrett wrote a song that sounds like, that other people could think sounds like, doesn't matter. You get what I mean.
Right. And then Jarrett also wrote a song with Ted.
He did.
He did. Yeah.
I mean, I think
it's all coming together.
But yeah, so thanks so much for doing this. This is a great way for me to kick things off. Ted is in a band locally here in northeastern Pennsylvania called Don't Panic, who is very successful, very popular. They just released a new album called See Through It All, which is available on all the streaming services. You can also purchase, I think, bundle packs, I guess, right, from your website as well?
Not anymore. Not anymore. You missed it.
Sold out? Okay.
Yeah, so all we got left is CDs and vinyl.
All right. Well, that's still cool.
Not many of those either.
That's still cool.
Very cool.
But so I started the Popko Project because unfortunately, I used to be the host of a radio show called Alt Natives on Alt 92.1. And it aired every Saturday night here in northeastern Pennsylvania, and it featured an hour's worth of music from artists in and around NEPA. Ted and Don't Panic was one of them. That's how I actually met Ted. Although we've never actually personally met yet.
Because of because when we started talking was during this lockdown crap.
Well, actually, it was before that.
A little bit before that. Yeah. It was like a month before that.
I was playing your music. I actually had you scheduled to play a show that we were doing for Alt Natives Underground. That was, I think, March or April. And that got canceled, obviously. So I was the host of that show. The stations decided they wanted to play Christmas music from November through December to kind of bring joy to, people in 2020. It's been a shitty year. I get it. But that means there wasn't a place for me. So they said the show is on hiatus.
So you guys are it's still a rock station and it's just doing Christmas music, or you don't know exactly, or you can't say?
I don't know exactly what it's going to be after the Christmas music, but
okay.
I mean, I'm sure you can both kind of put together that you don't alienate your audience by playing 2 months of Christmas and then go back to what you're doing. It just doesn't work that way.
I find it odd that a radio station would decide to play Christmas music in 2020, in the day and age we're in, where it's like, if I want to hear Christmas music, which I always do at this time of year, I just tell the device, who I can't name right now, to just play it around the house. And then if I want to listen to the radio,
not only that, there's a lot of
so like everything's on demand right now. So why would a radio station
there's a lot of banned Christmas songs too. You could just play.
Yeah, we used to kind of mix in the Jim Eat Worlds and the Smashing Pumpkins, and that's what we're doing. So there's also a station in this market called Magic 93, who also plays Christmas tunes, but they're kind of like the traditional stuff, and they start the day after Thanksgiving. We started November 4th, I think it was, whatever the day was after the election.
Really getting a jump start on it.
It's been received well outside of like the local bands that no longer have their music on the station, and just people who were really devout alternative music listeners. The advertisers like it. I mean, again, I think I'm still employed by them. Thankfully, I'm still.
No. You can watch what you say. Don't worry about it. I won't goad you into talking garbage on your the guys who employ you.
It's been received well outside of everyone who loved the station.
And everybody loves Christmas music, and I'm so happy they changed to playing Christmas music.
Doesn't matter what I say, so I'm gonna just sit already.
But so that left me out in the cold during Christmas. So they said it was on hiatus.
I don't know. Brick basement.
Yes, it's freezing down here. So they said a hiatus. I don't know what that means. So I was like, you know what? I can't sit here for 2 months and not knowing what's going on, and lose what I've built for 3 years. I've been in this local scene for almost 17 years now. I've always been a part of that, and I just couldn't see myself like not in it anymore. And as silly as it might sound, like hosting that show on Saturday nights at 9:00 gave me a sense of purpose. It really
It's not silly. That's awesome.
I didn't get paid for it. I did it because I loved it. It gave me a sense of purpose. It really did. So I was like, what do I do now? And then I was like, maybe I'll start my own online radio station where I can still play these bands. But then I'm like, like going back to what you said, Rob, I mean, if I want to go online and listen to music, I'll just pick whatever I want to listen to. I don't need some idiot telling me, here's 10 songs, whatever, listen to these.
Yeah, there was a time when I found it, but that's not how it works anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, but there was something special just to hear your music on the radio. I think there still is.
Yeah.
Because anybody could put the music on Spotify, but like to get on the radio, you have to send it in. Yet someone has to at least listen to it. Someone has to think it's good enough to play.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's that it's not so much that people can listen to it. It's the fact that they picked you. They're like, this is not terrible. So we'll let other people. We'll put our radio station stamp of approval on this, and that's what's the exciting part,
right?
Because anyone can listen to your music now, especially. You're like,
yep.
Just download it or whatever. It was the fact that like yeah, we sent our song to a radio station. They listened to it. They didn't think the song sucked or it sounded like garbage, and they put it on the radio. And you're like, yeah, like that's like it's a form of validation for a lot of the bands. It makes them feel like, hey, you know, we might have something good.
Yeah.
So it's everyone appreciates what you do. It's really cool.
Well, thank you. And unfortunately, I can no longer do that. So I wanted to still have some kind of connection. And this is the best outlet that I've come up with.
It's great.
Is still being able to talk to you guys, let you talk about your music, what you have coming up. I want it to be a promotional platform, but I also want it to be just us shooting the shit too. Like, you know, we can just hang out, catch up. I get to talk to Rob. I've never talked to you before. And again, thank you for taking the time to do this.
I'm in my basement.
And Ted, thanks for setting us up.
Yeah, no
But
problem.
you know, and it's no secret, I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan. So I kind of get inspiration from that, and I kind of wanted to create that.
I see your little eyeball thing there.
Yes, that's the third eye. That's the
It's
a custom-made lamp from Scott Nichols.
Oh,
So
very nice.
the top here, that light is encapsulated in like a microphone wire almost, and then that third eye is part of Joe Rogan's logo on his forehead.
Yeah, I recognize that.
That as well.
But yeah, so I mean, here we are. Today, I don't know when this will post, but on December 1st, we just launched the T-shirt campaign, which is Shirts for the Scene, which is an online store that has, I forget the number right now that it has, but I think it's close to 80, maybe less than that, but just logos of local bands. So you can go on there. If you purchase the Don't Panic shirt from there, the proceeds from the sale of those shirts goes right to Ted's band. So obviously this year has been a terrible year for artists and musicians because they can't tour, they can't play in local bars, restaurants, venues, whatever it is, and which also means they can't sell merch. So I was like, how can I create something that can help them make money?
That's a great idea. It's cool.
I can't take full credit because Axelrad, they did this for local businesses back in like April, May. But it was a way to kind of keep the businesses locally here alive. And I don't think the bands really thought of themselves as like a business, or, you know, they didn't think this would be going on this long. So really the bands didn't really participate in the campaign.
Yeah.
I went to Axelrad. I said, hey, I want to steal your idea. What do you think? And we just kind of limit it to just bands and like, you know, photographers. It could be booking agents. It could be whatever, just people in the entertainment media and the entertainment business. And have a direct, you know, campaign for just them. They're like, we love it. We're on board. Let's do it. So
Axelrad sounds like a guitar player from like an 80s band or something.
That's Axl Rose, and he's a singer.
Axelrad also. It kind of reminds me of one of the teams on California Games on Nintendo. Like that would be like one of the teams you could skate for.
Those brands that would be your sponsor.
Yeah, like Milton Bradley, and then Axelrad would be one of them.
Axelrad. Or it sounds like in a cartoon, if they were like, you know, they couldn't say like Axl Rose or, you know, anything like that. Like
it's like a drawn cartoon guy who's the singer of
rock star. Like
yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, they're all cool dudes. Like, and they're like, I don't want to say like hardcore, but they're like, they don't give a shit and they get shit done, and it's amazing. It's such a cool place. If you haven't met them yet, you should. At least Ted.
Well, Rob lives in the
Rob,
Poconos.
If you're looking for a new merch person, I'll set you up.
He's not in charge of that.
I can't even
get in charge of it. Get in charge of it. Now you are. I just made you in charge of merch.
I actually think who does our merch, I actually might be wrong, but I think who does our merch is also owned by our management firm, so I don't think they're going to change.
That's like monopoly right there.
Yeah.
Man, I just had to mail out, speaking of, I had to mail out like all these T-shirts and stuff today. You don't want to be in charge of your merch. It's terrible. I know. I was standing at the post office and like I had like 50 of our orders or whatever in this big box, and I was like standing at the counter, and then there's like a line of like 30 people like waiting for me as I was like taking each package out one at a time, and like the lady's like, does like, because a lot of stuff we were mailing goes to the UK. And she's like, so what's the area code on this? And I was like, I don't know. Like, this is your job. I'm handing you these information, then you mail it. I don't want to know what the area code
Did
is.
you get the thing? Like I remember doing this with Anthony and Travis like forever ago, being in the post office somewhere, like Ohio or something like that, and like we had like a system set up. Anthony was like basically keeping the teller at bay, and like Travis and I are filling out these slips and slapping them on there, and just kind of.
Oh yeah, the foreign slips. Yeah.
Yes, but like filling them out and doing it real quick so that it gets to Anthony, it goes in, and at the end of it, there was a huge line. Everyone was furious, and the receipt was like as long as if you bought like a stick of deodorant at CVS, like the longest receipt you could possibly imagine. It was like 22 feet long. We like stretched it out, and it was like in the parking lot to see how long it was, and it was ridiculous.
Is it anything like a CVS receipt?
I just said that.
Oh.
I actually made a well-crafted. I said if I say it again, it's not funny, so I'll say it again. I said it was like a stick of deodorant at CVS. What the receipt would look like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know about this, Popko here? You know, like anything you buy at CVS, the receipt's like 12 long.
Oh yeah, and I think every store is now adopting that feature. That should.
I went to the grocery store the other day, and I was like, it was like, what is it, CVS? I only bought like 10 things, maybe.
Why would you want to adopt this feature of adding a gigantic receipt? How does that benefit anyone?
I think they're selling advertising space. Honestly, I think it's weird. Okay. Yeah, there's like these little things on them about like $5 off on a car wash or some shit. I don't know. I also could be wrong. That's just what I think it is.
I hate it. It's stupid.
It's very stupid. And it's
But I think the summer shandy is getting to Ted. It's blocking his ears.
What's he doing? Is he just not hearing stuff?
Just not.
No.
He's not listening.
Actually, I got distracted. But Jared had texted me to thank me for a package I had sent him.
Get off your phone.
I turned it off. I turned it off.
Thank you. At least it's not dinging.
I made sure that was off.
So, well, Ted, talk about the new "Don't Panic" release. Obviously, you've been releasing like a new song, I think, every 6 weeks. I had the pleasure of playing a lot of those, but the full album is complete. It's done. It's out, and it's great. So, talk about releasing an album in a pandemic.
It sucks, but it's cool. Like, I don't know. We recorded this album last, what was it, Rob? November?
It was like October of the year 2019, right?
Yeah. So we went in the studio in last October and November, and we recorded this album. So, I mean, it's old to me. Like, it's cool that we're releasing it now, but the plan wasn't to do it this way, obviously. Like, we had a different plan, and then we had to kind of adjust based on everything that was happening. So the singer of Rob's band, Jarrett, who's like helping us and like kind of mentoring my band a little bit and guiding us through everything, was just like, hey, don't release an album, release singles all year. And that way you have stuff going on, because now that there's a pandemic, you can't tour, you can't play shows, can't do anything. So like, you always want to keep making it look like you're busy. So like, if you're releasing a song every 6 to 8 weeks, it looks like, oh, we're always doing stuff. Like, even though we've done it, like it's already been done. Like, we did it in October and November, and we're just, all I'm doing is like submitting songs. Like, I'm not doing anything. But so starting in February, and then every 6 weeks we put out a new song. And then the idea was to eventually release it as an album. And I figured, let's just do it in Black Friday in November. Why not? So we released 7 single songs, and then the rest of the album was another 4 songs. All came out this past Friday. And again, because of the pandemic, like, we didn't print up a lot of physical CDs or vinyl like we had planned. So we just did a really limited run. So that's what I was saying at the beginning. Like, there's not a lot left because, we only printed up a couple, and we did like a pre-sale and like all this other stuff. So we have like a handful of CDs left, and then we got like a bunch of vinyl left. But it's, it's awesome because at one way, like, people don't have much to do. So they want to like listen to new music and watch videos, and like, like Rob's band does like a lot of like digital hangouts and stuff where like their fans will watch them talk and all that kind of stuff and just drink. And you know, it's cool like that, but it sucks at the same time because you want to like play for people. Like we have all these songs and can't even play them live. It sucks.
Yeah.
So like we've done 3 live stream shows up till now, and that's the only time we've played any of the songs on this album. Like, you know, we haven't actually play them for anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, but you know, otherwise it's been good. It's been, you know, the most we could do at a year like this.
Yeah, but you know, I also think that the way things are going to happen now is that bands are going to release singles and not so much records anymore.
Oh yeah,
you know, which I don't like. Well, I mean, I like it and I don't like it because I like it because you get new music, it seems, every 6 weeks.
Oh yeah,
but I also like getting that full album that I listen to front to back. And but I mean, I'm also 38, so it's like,
yeah, like that's like for like people our age, that's like what we grew up doing. Is like you went to. I remember, like we used to like go to was Gallery of Sound.
Yeah.
And we would wait. We'd go at midnight sometimes, and a record would come out.
Yeah.
And we'd be like, oh, the new whoever CD's coming out. Like, let's go at midnight and get it. Like, because they would open up just to, if it was like a big band, you know, Green Day or whoever.
It was awesome.
And you hadn't heard any of the song, maybe one. Maybe you heard like the first single they put out.
That's how they used to market it then. They would put a single out in a video, and that was the commercial. And then you'd go and buy the whole album.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and then more often
there, but it's much different. And that's kind of like how we sort of grew up here, and then playing music and stuff. It's just funny how the landscape changes. So you don't really get to do exactly what you thought the thing was to do. Like starting in a band, like me and my brother actually started a band together when we were like kids, and that's how we all got into this whole thing.
Yeah.
And when you do that, like you see like the music video on MTV, and you see then the album, like the CD in the stores, and then like, you know, becoming an adult and like doing it and like going for it. It's like different now than it was that long ago. So it's like you don't really go through the same steps that you thought you would to do it.
Yeah. Like we would be like, all right, these are the things we're gonna do, and we have like this, like we're gonna follow this plan. But by the time you get to the age where you can, it's like, oh, the whole industry is different now. Like, don't even do that stuff.
Yeah.
That's why we literally just said, "What's the language rules on this show here? You say whatever you want."
He said shit.
I did say shit already.
Even tabs. Anyway, Bowling for Soup, we just said fuck it, and we recorded an entire album this year, and it's gonna come out next year. But yeah, like we did let's just go away together and make an album. Not do like, we'll do a couple days at a studio here and then go home for like a lot. That's how people do it now. They mail each other hard drives and they use Dropbox but we were like, no, let's do it like the way it's done. Like, let's get together at a studio and like show up with half done ideas and make them songs, you know? And Jared and I were sending demos back and forth to each other. Like I'd use GarageBand and send him stuff. And that's kind of like how we put some songs together. And then he would send me stuff that he did at home because he's got this studio set up there. And it was all just really rough, purposely not thought into too much, just ideas. So then when we did get to the studio, we could actually do the job and do the work and the fun part, which I like to think of it as. And it was neat to do a full album like that again, because it's been a while since I've done it that way.
Yeah, we were kind of lucky because, in a way anyway, because we recorded our album, like the album that just came out, in right before all this crap happened.
You basically did it that way.
Yeah, so we got to just be like, hey, whatever. Like, it didn't matter. Like, we went and recorded the album, we hung out. Now it's like a lot of people, you know, you see like the music videos where it's like the split screen and like all the guys are in their house. Like, you know, like everyone's like doing that kind of weird stuff. Yeah. So like, and we did one. we did one this summer. So at least we got to like sneak in recording an album before the pandemic hit.
Yeah, we got to sneak in a tour right before the pandemic hit.
Yeah, lucky.
I can tell you all about that.
Yeah, Rob. You're obviously in a band who had some massive hit songs. Like, what has it been like for you being in that kind of band over the years?
So, it was a very steadily gradual sort of like line towards it, and then a huge jump. Like, kind of. So my brother and I started a band when we were kids, and did the like play everywhere at all of our friends' parties and do all that shit and like, just do what you do when you're a kid. And then we like decided we were going to take it seriously and like started like, I don't know, my brother somehow was getting us like on these shows at these bigger bands. Like we would do a bunch of shows at Catch 22 back in the day. For us, that was a huge deal. And it's still awesome. I love that.
We did dates with like Rise Against and like My Chemical Romance. And, yeah.
These bands before they like did anything, but like still like they were bands that were getting this traction. We do all that stuff with those Drive-Thru Records bands back in the day. And we just sort of started just not stopping, like basically being so annoying that we had to play every single show everywhere. And like for kids, I remember like the night before taking my SATs, we were out with Catch 22 and you had to drop me off at school in the morning so I could take the test and then went back out. So we were just kind of doing that thing for a long time. And then my brother continued to do it and I kind of stopped because I was young enough that my mom could tell me what to do. Like we were out like being in a punk rock band, like doing some cool shit. My mom could still basically say yes or no.
Right.
So I went to college and, it wasn't the greatest thing in the world and it wasn't the worst thing in the world because I'm really close friends with a lot of my college buddies. And during that, I was like restless. I'm like, I want to keep doing this. So I started another band with my buddy, Corey. And that band, we did some cool things. My brother got us on some Warped Tour dates and stuff. And like, we kind of had some, the word success is not what I'm looking for, but we had fun and did like a tour of the parties, and then we did a lot of stuff with this band called Patent Pending, who Corey and I would end up joining. When our band sort of dissolved, we both just basically joined Patent Pending and did that. And then Patent Pending was like kind of getting a little more traction at the time, so it was like getting introduced to like the real world of touring like a little bit more extensively. Like we started doing like more longer runs on the Warped Tour, and we started doing our own tours just across the country. Nothing huge, but like enough that like
you guys went on tour with like Simple Plan and stuff.
That was a little later on, but yeah, like you sort of felt like we were starting to do the real thing, and then we started traveling overseas because we became really close friends with Bowling for Soup, who was taking us all over the place. They were just, because Jared's thing with bringing bands on tour is like, I don't care if you're the most professional this is or that. It's like I just want to tour with my friends. So we hit it off really early on with them. Like basically the first tour we did with them, by the second day of the tour, we were all just partying in the bus together. Like it was very easy and organic. And like, that was the kind of people, like you meet them the first time and you're like, we're friends. So, and we all stayed really close over the years. And with Patent Pending, we started doing the festivals overseas and doing a lot of UK stuff. And that I was getting very like put into this is like the real world of touring. Not that it wasn't the real world of touring before that, but it was a little more substantial to me. And then kind of busier and busier, then sort of our singer Joe had a family, which that happens. And
it does.
But what I mean by that is like we slowed down a little bit, not like, oh, we came to a halt because he had a family. He should be having
I know.
He's married. So like just things kind of were slowing down a bit, not like uncomfortably, but like right around that time, then Jared called me. He was like, hey, we need you to fill in for us on the Warped Tour for Gary on drums. And I was like, yeah, sure. That sounds fun. So I went out, and it was like a quick short run that we did. And coming home from that, I was like, oh, wow. I was like, I'd never had that treatment before. I'd never just had the only obligation of just, all you have to do is just play this instrument for 30 minutes. And you can do whatever else you want. You don't have to touch anything. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. That's it.
Carry a bunch of shit upstairs.
Oh yeah, and I've done it all. I've done it all for years and years and years and years. So then, like doing that, I was like, well, that was fun. And then I kind of just went back home to my life. And then the next year, they were like, hey, Jared called me again. He's like, hey, I was like, oh wow, did Gary break his arm or something? Because the year before his baby, his daughter came a little earlier than they thought, so he couldn't finish out the Warped Tour dates. So yeah, the next summer he was like, hey, he's like, no, actually, he's like, we need you on bass. And Bowling for Soup's been the same guys for 20-something years. So it's not this thing where there's one dude and a bunch of band members that have kind of just cycle out. This band's very close knit friends. If I'm talking for too long, feel free to stop.
No. This is I love this. I'm genuinely curious as to how this all played out. How old are you at this moment?
Right now?
No. When you're like getting called up to say, hey, I need you to play drums. Hey,
that was only like 3 years ago. Like it was pretty recently, 4 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
And yeah, and then he's, you know, he was like, hey, we actually need you to fill in on bass. I was like, all right. I'm like, great. That sounds like a lot of fun. So he's like, it's a little bit longer of a run. He's like, plus we have like more commitment things. He's like, and we're feeling out like what's going on right now. So I was like, okay. I met him for that. I showed up and we hardly practiced. Like basically I met him they're all Dallas, Texas based. They're very, very into that. And what I mean by that is I've never met a band that's like more into like where they're from. Like they all have tattoos of Texas everywhere and shit. Jarrett's guitar is the Texas state flag.
People love Texas, man.
You don't have your Pennsylvania tattoo still?
No, I don't have my Pennsylvania anything. So I'm like, I water them down a little bit by being from Pennsylvania. So then we did that summer on the Warped Tour, and it was a lot of fun. And then right into that, it was just like they're like, hey, what's your, like, they basically had me like shared on this calendar, and they're like, hey, just let us know what you can and cannot do. And they like send me these things. I'm like, before I look at it, I can do it all. Like,
right.
just sign me up for it. Whatever you need, and whenever you're done with me, just let me know. I was like, I'm just going to enjoy the ride. And we did Warped Tour. We did this other festival. I think it was with the Spin Doctors.
Oh, nice.
And then it was just this like one after the other, like kind of the rest of that year, and like closing out the year, Jarrett was like, "Hey, I want to go to the UK again this year." Well, for the first time with me being in the band, he's like, "I want to do because the band's much bigger over there. It's really weird." So he's like, "Yeah, we should do a tour with you in the UK." And I was like, "All right." I was like, "That's a pretty big deal because they're very loyal fans there." So I was like kind of nervous how that would go, but I was still just filling in. And then we get there, and then during the tour, like into it a little bit, maybe the second to last day or something, we were in this like dressing room. I know exactly where it was. It was in Leicester.
Oh yeah, Leicester.
Leicester. I could be saying it wrong because it's England, and they say everything different depending where you are in the country. So they were like, Jarrett was like, "Hey, we wanted to like." This was like maybe 10 minutes before going to play the show. We're just sitting in the dressing room doing what we do, just.
Yeah, that is exactly what they do in the dressing room.
It's really nice. But right before we play is when we start to rally and Jared will start just yelling, and that's, and then so anyway, right before we go on to play, he's like, "Oh, we wanted to like kind of bring you out for a beer and like kind of talk to you about this, but like we all want you to join the band. Like we want you to be in full time." And I was like, okay, he's just kind of laid out. It was all like coming at me very fast. He's laid out to me what that meant and how it works and everything, and I was just kind of like took it in. I was like, yeah. Like, I'm in. I joined, and then we played the show, finished the tour, went home, couldn't really say anything because I think like legal stuff had to be worked out. We get back, and then it was just kind of like, all right, like it's my career now. And then it was just a couple of years just straight of that, like just nonstop. Like we did this tour and it's cool because that happened, and I was already like I said, gradually got myself around these kind of neat things like doing the Warped Tour and doing the. So you meet a lot of bands and become a lot of friends with different people doing that. And then doing the overseas things and the festivals, like becoming friends with bands you never really would think you'd be friends with. But the festival environment is just kind of hanging out with people. So like I became friends with a couple of dudes from like Dragon Force. Like I'm not like a metal guy, but it's just because they were fun guys. We were just hanging out, like drinking Jack Daniels. Like that was fun, like, and I keep in touch with, we text still. So like, things like that happen over the years. And then once I joined Bowling for Steel, I'm like, man, now we're like co-headlining with Real Big Fish, who I love, and Less Than Jake. And like we're taking Lit with us on the next tour that we do. And that's like a band that I love. And like that, they're going to be like supporting our tour, which is crazy to me. So that's that's basically the long and short story of how this all kind of lined up and how I ended up in this position.
It's kind of, I don't want to say by accident, but it almost is kind of by accident.
I feel like that's what everything is, though.
It really is.
It's really like you just kind of get on your surfboard and you just ride, and then wherever it drops you off, that's where you are. Like
you sort of lean in one direction or the other, but
yeah. Well, I'm friends with Aaron Bruck. He is the current bass player for Breaking Benjamin, and I used to
Northeast Pennsylvania-based band.
Yeah. And he used to play like solo shows at a bar called Liam's. That was just one of the venues he'd play. And we get drunk, and we would, after the show was over, the bar shut down. We'd go out to his Subaru, and he would share with me a new track that the band Panacea was working on. So he
I
was
remember them.
humping gear for a long time, and just kind of stayed in the circuit. You know, I don't want to say met the right people at the right time, but kind of. And
What I did.
the bass player for Breaking Benjamin, and it couldn't have happened for a better dude. He's a great human being, great musician, and so it's really cool to hear things like that happen.
I think I remember seeing that. Well, I remember seeing that Panacea band on flyers for like Cafe Metro, and like Home Base. If you remember those venues.
I think
Home Base was like this warehouse in the middle.
Yeah,
of like,
yeah. Home Base was like a warehouse. Yeah, I think
That
you
place
you
was
know.
awesome.
You remember Cafe Metro, John?
Yeah,
ever
so
go there?
I was in it like right before it closed down. I was on South Main Street in Wilkes-Barre. Yeah, I grew up in the country, so like I didn't go out to see any shows until I actually moved to my own apartment when I was like 18 years old. When I was in college,
Oh, okay.
just because like to get anywhere it was like 45-minute drive. And I, unless I was driving, I wasn't going. And yeah.
So like what Rob said, like, when we were young, so I was 16, 17, Rob was like 14 years old, maybe 15. And we played in a band with our friend Ian, and we played at lots of, like, we would play everywhere, like literally, like he said, like birthday parties and basements, but we'd also play clubs, and we played Cafe Metro a bunch of times in Wilkes-Barre.
That was like
Home
basically
Base.
our home venue, because there's no other venue to play at home.
Yeah,
like
it was definitely one of them. And because are you from like Scranton area? Is that like where you would call home?
Me?
John. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know where my brother's from.
Sorry. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, Wilkes-Barre is probably closer to where I grew up, but
Okay, yeah. So even more so then. So me and Rob grew up in Blakesley,
okay,
which is like down
That's
115 from Wilkes-Barre.
I know
Yeah.
exactly what that is.
Yeah. So, we lived in between Stroudsburg and Wilkes-Barre,
Right.
so we kind of treated both as our home. Honestly, more Wilkes-Barre because they had the better mall.
Right.
Like,
but there was really nowhere to play in Stroudsburg. Like Wilkes-Barre had like for a band like us, like it was these like cool like clubs like Cafe Metro and Home Base, where Stroudsburg would just be like, it would be like a VFW. There was that place that would like just started like
the Underworld you're talking about?
before that. What was it when we were like
Bismos.
Bismos, yeah. So like we
Yeah.
just missed that, like completely, like just missed it. And then the Underworld kind of started doing its thing.
Yeah,
we were already doing the Cafe Metro and Home Base thing, right? And then the Underworld like opened.
Yeah, we played a lot of cool shows at Metro. We played with like Bigwig and Catch-22 and Digger and like
Autopilot.
and there's a lot of cool shows at Metro. And I remember that Panacea band playing there. I definitely remember
The
their
more you say
name.
it, the more familiar it sounds.
They had like dots. Like I think it was like
yeah, it was like PAN or PA
dot. They had like dots in their name and everything.
Yeah.
I definitely remember them on the flyers.
Yeah, I wasn't introduced to them until like 2005, I guess it was.
Okay.
I thought they were going to be the next band out of this area after Breaking Benjamin. And Aaron was in that band too. But
there you go.
Yeah.
There's been a couple really awesome bands out in Northeast Pennsylvania, though. I mean, and we've been fortunate enough to know a couple of them. Like, I played in a band called Split 50 for a while, and we did, we were pretty busy. Kind of like similar to like how Rob, like Patent Pending was, like, same kind of vein. And we made really good friends with Motionless in White, and those guys blew up.
Yeah.
Like, but the way we know them, like I met Motionless in White, and they're wearing like backwards baseball caps and like Dickies, and like they had like lip rings, and they're listening to Blink-182.
What was Chris's band?
New Car Smell was the name of.
What was the place? The Strand in by Hazleton. We'd play all the time with
yeah.
them.
And there's a place like in like Plains we used to play too with them. Man, I don't remember the name of it though.
The Staircase? No, it was Pittston.
Yeah, the Staircase. That's what I was thinking. Pittston, the Staircase.
That was like one of the first clubs too that like we played, like had like a real sound system and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually fun. The funny thing about Motionless in White is like I'm sure you know who they are, but Johnny.
Yeah.
But like they're super heavy as far as like things that I listen to are concerned. and they've gotten like incredibly successful, and like it's cool to see every time I'm out like doing something, like seeing them out and about also. But like they mostly, at least I can only say this for Chris because he's the one I've probably known all along, because some of the guys like I was introduced to later on, and they're all great people.
Yeah.
Like Chris sort of grew up listening to the same stuff that like I did, and even so a little bit more in a direction that I didn't go. Like he was really big into like Blink-182, and like he also loved like the like Newfound Glory and those kind of bands and stuff. And but now he screams and does the super heavy music. So, but he was also like into Bowling for Soup too, like because that fits the timeline for back in the day. So when I started playing with them on the Warped Tour the one year, Motionless in White was playing as well, and they were like headlining one of the stages. There's no headliners on Warped Tour, but they were one of the bigger bands on like the heavy stage, right? So I saw Chris a few days in. I was like, oh hey, he's like, what are you doing here? I was like, well, I'm actually filming Bowling for Soup. He's like, wow, that's really awesome. Like, that's so cool. I want to come check it out. I was like, great. I was like, I want to make sure to see you guys. It's been years since I've seen them play. I was like, I kind of want to see what this looks like now, because I'm used to seeing them play at the little clubs
on the floor in a fire hall with like
so I wanted
speakers.
to see them. I really thought it'd be cool to see them do the thing, in front of thousands of people. So it was like we played, or we didn't even play it. It was like I don't know, it doesn't matter. We were somewhere, and I was like, oh cool, like I actually am gonna make this happen today. Like I'm gonna go see them. And I was sitting with Gary in the bus. We're just drinking coffee, and he was like, yeah, I've heard the name. He's like, I'll come check him out with you. He's like, we don't play till 7:00 tonight. And Jared's like, what are we doing? I'm like, we're gonna go see this band. And Chris was like, and my brother can attest to this. Chris doesn't want to do anything. He wants to sit in the back of the bus with his dog and watch movies. But he was like, but he likes metal. So he was like, yeah, I've heard a lot about that band. Fuck it, I'm coming with you. Let's go. Let's just take a band trip. We're going. So we just start walking over to their stage. We get over there, and I see Chris. I'm like, hey, buddy, like, I brought the band. We're gonna come watch. He's like, what, you brought the guys with you? I'm like, yeah. And he's not usually one to like act excited. Like, it just kind of was not neat to see that. Like this guy who's about to, with these thousands of fans out there,
like covered in white makeup, like
all like jazzed up to like scream in a microphone at 3,000 people. And he was like, oh man, he's like, that's so cool, that's awesome, that's fucking great. And like we kind of stand on the stage behind him, and they're doing their thing, and it's awesome to watch them. And every now and then he'd look back and he'd be like, yeah. I thought it was hilarious, because I'm like, no one in that crowd has any clue who this band is, and the guy who's singing that they're adoring right now is like, man, this is a band that I listened to back here. It was just a funny moment to see. Plus, it was really cool to see them like I said, like do the thing.
It's so crazy.
And it's funny because Chris's personality isn't like that. Like, it doesn't match, I think, the music.
Yeah, he always. I mean, he said in like interviews and stuff. I haven't really talked to him much about this, but I've heard he says like that's where he lets it all out. 'Cause he's a pretty shy and reserved guy.
Mm-hmm. And I think my wife went to high school with him, actually.
Oh yeah,
almost positive. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all from like was it Pittston? Was that the town?
Yeah, they're like from like all that, like those like side Wilkes-Barre towns.
Yeah.
Auxiliary Wilkes-Barre towns.
Well, Ted, you were saying you were booking shows. So I believe, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, but you book shows in addition to your own band, correct?
Yeah, you don't have to apologize. You're 100% right. I'm a booking agent by trade. That's what I do for a living. And I book, right now, I represent 4 bands. I book for the Ataris. I book for Richie Ramone, who is the drummer from the band The Ramones. The band The Queers, and a band called Bigwig from New Jersey. Or Tennessee now, whatever. But that's what I do for a living, is I book tours for those bands. So like it's kind of how I got into the music industry as like a profession. Was back in the early 2000s when I was playing in Split 50. We actually ran one of the stages on Warped Tour. So the singer Zach and myself, he owned and I managed and produced the stage. So like I booked all the bands on the stage. We were in charge of paying for everything, getting the tour bus, getting the staging equipment, everything. And we started it because there was a band called the Phenomenauts who would play every year on Warped Tour. And there is like weird, kind of like, I don't know if you ever heard of the Aquabats, but it's like a similar gimmick where they like dress up like spacemen.
I actually saw them support the Aquabats once.
Well, there you go. So they had a stage on Warped Tour that was like crappy. It was like on the ground, and you had like 2 speakers. And it'd be like if you walked into Warped Tour, oh, on the side there's like some bands playing over there on the ground. And it'd be like one of the little things you do during the day. They stopped doing it, and we called Kevin, the owner of Warped Tour, and we were like, hey, can we do that? Like, they're not doing it anymore. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. Go ahead. So like, great. So we started booking our own stage, and each year it would get bigger and bigger and better. And we, the next year we'd get a gear sponsor, and then they'd bring a bunch of extra gear. And then the next year we got another sponsor, and then we were able to afford a real stage, and it kept growing. And I was booking all the bands, and I booked a lot of cool bands on there, bands that like me and like Rob said, like when he and I grew up doing this, we played with and made friends with a lot of bands who wound up getting huge. But like, All Time Low, we're like really good friends of ours. And like this band 4 Year Strong. Yeah. Emotionless in White. And like, we would get all these bands to play our stage. And
I really liked Down with Webster.
Down with Webster is really cool. Yeah. They're kind of like gym class heroes, I guess, sort of. Like,
I do like gym class heroes, but Down with Webster, I think is awesome.
So, we did that every summer, and when we would get home, we would book shows, like not as like a touring, like we would like rent venues out, and we would put on shows. And then we got actually kind of good at that. And like we actually started doing shows in Scranton at Tinks when it was Tinks.
Yeah.
So like shows that I put on like at Tinks, I did like Hatebreed. I booked that at Tinks.
Oh, wow.
Eve 6 played at Tinks. I booked that.
Don't forget.
I think I was there.
No, I booked that show.
That's awesome.
Don't forget which one.
Trapped. Yeah, I booked Trapped at Tinks. LFO.
Let's go back to Trapped in a minute.
So we put on a lot of cool shows, and after a while of that, and that's what I did for a living for a while, I got tired of that, and I was like, I fucking hate doing this. I decided I was good at booking my band's tours, and we had just made friends with the Ataris. And Chris, the singer, was like, do you want to book our tour? And I was like, sure. So like I booked their tour, and I put Don't Panic on, like just as I had started Don't Panic. So it was like 2010. And I booked that tour. And at the end of it, he's like, you did freaking awesome. And he paid me. And I was like, oh, all right. So then for a couple years, I started finding bands that I would book their tours. Like I booked for a band called He Is Legend. And then I booked some dates for Motionless in White. I booked for a band called Screeching Weasel. Just like a bunch of really cool like punk rock and scene bands.
Doesn't Cody from Set It Off still owe you like $75 from like back?
Yeah, if you ever heard of the band Set It Off, I booked them a tour, and they owe me $75 from that tour. It's like 2000,
like every other day, and it's
like 2008. I booked them a tour. It was Set It Off and Patent Pending. Set It Off owes me $75.
Bastards.
Coming.
But yeah, so that's what I did for a living, and now that's what I do for a living. And I don't do it now because no one can tour.
So you got double fucked.
Yeah, both fists.
Double fucked you. Like
both my asses.
Jesus. You have 2 asses?
Yeah.
Whew. Sure. I guess it takes 2 to get double fucked, right? Well,
yeah.
No,
that's not true.
That's not true.
But yeah, it double sucks. Like, all the bands I work for can't tour, so I can't make any money. My band can't tour, so I can't do things that I like.
Right.
So that's why, going back to putting out the record for my band this year, that's why I had so much time to focus on like, let's promote these singles and let's do videos online and let's do live streaming concerts. Like I have nothing else to do. Like, so it's been kind of good and kind of bad. Like, I think for everybody, you have to find the best stuff you can pull out of this situation, turn this shit into good,
right?
The best you can. So,
yeah. I mean, I keep seeing people, well, not seeing people, just hearing too, like, nothing's going to go back to normal. Like, we're not going to go back to what it was.
I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with
not
that
100%.
Yeah.
Things are going to change. I hope I
think the only changes will be the positive ones. So like changes, for instance, will be like bands will do more streaming stuff online for their fans when they're not on tour.
Well, they also might not, because then it decentivizes the ticket sales for live.
Maybe.
As far as a whole, I think the positives coming out of this is I hope people will be a little more sanitary. People will start
Yes.
washing their hands more often. Like those are the things that I'm not even kidding. Like it is funny to say, but like at the drive-thru in Taco Bell right now, for instance, like you order it, you put your card in the reader, they hold it there, never leaves your hand. They hand you your bag on a tray. It was just bagged in the touch. Like I've noticed that like food preparation is much more sanitary and clean, and
Yeah, they should continue that.
yeah, there's a lot of things that I sort of like about that. Not that I'm a germaphobe, but I'm like, man, why weren't we doing some of this shit all along?
Right.
Like, that's what I'm thinking.
Like blowing out birthday candles at someone's birthday. You're like,
let's not do that. We don't need to do that anymore.
Don't
Like,
do that, yeah.
I've always thought it was gross.
That's so much fun for little kids, though. Like,
But they won't.
You give them. Why did a little kid have their slice?
Their own cake.
With their just a slice of the cake with the candle. Why do we blow all over everyone's cake?
Yeah. See, so these are the changes that I'm looking forward to.
Maybe the porta-johns at the concerts will be cleaned during the shows.
Oh,
That's
that'd be
never gonna
great.
happen. That's never gonna happen. No
Man,
matter
I
how
don't know.
clean the world gets, those are always gonna be disgusting and awful.
John, have you ever been to Warped Tour?
Yes.
Have you been in a porta potty at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon at Warped Tour?
No, because
Here's
that's what I'm saying. You don't want to be there.
Here's the porta potty rule with the Warped Tour is so at each location that the morning of they get delivered that day from whatever providers in the area.
Right.
So if you're doing the tour and you happen to be up in the morning, like if you're up at like 7 in the morning,
7 o'clock, yeah.
you have to go take a poop, whether you want to or not, no matter what level.
Force that shit out.
Whether you're the biggest band there or the smallest nothing, like that's your chance because you're in the middle of a field all day sometimes. Like that's it. You can only pee in your bus or pee in an RV or behind a tree. Like basically your options are limited once it comes to pooping. So if you get it out at 7 in the morning, it's pristine and it's clean and it's not like a humidity disgusting box.
Your poop, you mean?
What's that?
I said your poop is clean and not disgusting.
Sure. No, I mean,
No, it's probably terrible.
Sure, it's awful. But like if you get in there that time of day, it's acceptable and it's fine. But that brought back some like bad memories. Just afternoon Warped Tour porta potties.
As far as like concert stuff and all that, I would say if you think about it, and this is the way I think about it, I might be wrong. Before this happened, did you even know about the 1918 pandemic? Had you even heard about it?
I
heard about it,
but that's only because I like stuff like that.
I heard about it, but I didn't know much about it.
It's called the Spanish flu.
Yeah,
like that was like.
But it was like a thing, and that's probably the majority of the information you had about it.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. People basically forgot about it, and they're filling stadiums, and they're eventually people are just like, and no one even remembers that for the most part, besides its name maybe.
Most people aren't around from then, but yeah.
But my point is that eventually people are just gonna be like, I don't give a shit anymore, and they're gonna go back because there's always gonna be something like this. So it's like you either just keep doing like Rob said, where let's just be a little clean. Let's not blow out the birthday cake, and let's hand our Taco Bell food on a nice tray. Outside of that, I think people are gonna still crowd into clubs, and they're gonna once they're allowed to, they're just going to.
People want to do it. I mean, I see on like if I look at any social media thing to do with the band, because I like to stay on that. I like to interact at least and like stuff and shit. But it's like basically anybody that wants to go see shows is like, I'm fucking ready. Like the second we've got the green light, we're going.
Well, I think people need that. I mean, there's something special when you're in a room, no matter how close you are, seeing a band that you love, singing the song that you know. There's definitely something special about that, and I hope that never goes away.
No, that's the thing. Like I personally, we did do the live stream show thing. Like basically earlier this year, when everything kind of went crazy. Like a couple, not even like 2 months in. Jarrett was like, because our band, we actually all like each other. Most bands, a lot of bands aren't like that. And a lot of bands aren't really close friends. But in Bowling for Soup, like we text each other every single day. Like whether it's just playing games or just shooting the shit, like we are like very, very close. So Jarrett was like, this is fucking stupid. He's like, I just haven't seen you guys. And he's like, I need to see you guys. Like, let's either, if we're not going to, we did like a couple of those like FaceTime together on the phone. And he was just like, why don't we just put this on Facebook, like, or one of the, like, the streaming things? Because it's not like we can go play a show anyway. If no one watches it, who cares? If people do watch it, great. If they see us doing something.
Right.
So we're like, sure. So we just call them band meetings, and we just do
That's
absolutely
funny.
nothing. We basically do something like this with less direction. And like,
There's
just
no direction here. I don't know what you're talking about.
this is a high budget Hollywood film compared to what we just,
My millions of viewers and listeners, yes.
Hey, people are going to be excited to watch these every week because I think you did so much. You supported those bands so much that they're going to be excited to support you back and support each other. I think it's great, and I wouldn't doubt that you're going to have a good audience every week.
Yes.
I hope so, man.
Or a month, or whatever you do this. I don't want to lock it into a weekly show.
Well, I mean,
whenever you do it,
I'm hoping to do it more than once a week. And not to get back on me because this is about you guys, but I also want to, obviously the anchor of this whole thing is the music. I mean, it's been a part of my life since I can remember. My parents were always listening to music in the house and in the car, and like it's always been a huge part of my life. And I remember being 18 years old, wanting to be 21 so bad, not so I could drink, but so I can go to the bars and like listen to the bands, So it's been a huge thing for me. And I started my career at the Weekender, which was at one point the area's #1 arts and entertainment magazine, or newspaper rather. And it was some of the best times of my life was working there at that newspaper. And so it's just kind of almost ingrained in me. So so the music is going to be, first and foremost, but I also just want to have conversations with people who want to talk and who are kind of making the difference in, our area. And then I also did that Sober October, obviously in October. And I had people reach out to me saying, hey, you're a real inspiration. You motivated me to do the same thing. Or I had people who like legit had an addiction problem and, reached out to me and said, hey, like, I'm really proud of you. I don't have a problem, but they're like, I'm really proud of you. Like I had a drinking problem and I made it through it. Like it's hard, but like you can do it, yada, yada, yada. So there's, I think, instances in people's lives where it's kind of frowned upon talking about. I'll just say it. My wife had a miscarriage last month or in October.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this is the third loss that we've experienced in the past 12 months. This one was much worse than the last two, just because she was further along or whatever. But I mean, women in those scenarios are kind of told, like, don't talk about it. It's something you should be. They're not told this. I'm sorry. The
socially, you mean? Yeah,
like,
socially,
yeah. Not socially, but just like it's something you keep to yourself, and like, you don't talk about it. It's like it's an embarrassing thing that happened, and like you're saying, it's not right. It's not.
Yeah.
But in history, it has been portrayed that way. So people long story short, people go through things and they either don't have people to talk to, or society says they shouldn't talk about it. And I want to have discussions with people who are counselors or people going through things, or just give a platform for people to utilize and help them get through something if they need to, or help inspire somebody else.
That's cool.
So that's kind of that's kind of the goal of this whole thing. But I mean, it starts with, you guys. It starts with the
I'm not a very good counselor. I'll tell you that right now.
But we're not coming to you for counseling.
No.
But
honestly, you come to musicians, and most musicians are the most fucked up people you know. So we're the ones who need the counseling.
Right.
Yeah, I can use plenty of it.
Well, I feel like bands and musicians today are different from what they were 30, 40, 50 years ago. I feel like you guys get you guys get the, it's you guys, people think that you guys just get drunk, high, and fall asleep on the floor.
Some people do, but that's not It's not my experience.
That's what my parents think.
Yeah.
Right. No, like back, like before our time. Like I think you guys, like guys like you, you're more serious about it. You take it more seriously. It's like a job for you guys.
I think it's like 80s was drinking and cocaine, and then like 90s was heroin. And it's like that, all that kind of stuff is like, I'm sure there are bands that do that, but honestly, I would say the majority of bands that I hang out with or tour with or whatever, yeah, everyone's like pretty like, people drink and have fun, but it's not
Right.
like.
Here's another thing though that like I've always kind of thought about with like the day and age that we live in, right? So like the Beatles, for instance, basically arguably the biggest band that's ever existed, right? Like
Sure.
some people say that's not true. Doesn't matter. The point is like take a band like that, right? I don't think that fame would have happened the way it did for them if every single person that listened to them was accessible to little moments of their life as much as they are now. Like the fact that Paul McCartney and John Lennon and Ringo and George Harrison were these like unattainable things is because they weren't posting on Instagram every day about what they were doing. You didn't see any glimpse into their life there, and you didn't even. If you wanted to see their face, you had to wait till they came on TV. Like you couldn't.
Or people would wait outside their hotel room and wait for them to wave from the balcony. You know what I mean?
That was the. Now you just open up the internet and you can see whoever you want to see. So like the celebrity is a much different thing now than it was then. And the reason that ties in is because you know much less about their. Like I'm certain that the Beatles were doing lines every night, even when in their like in their pretty boy like like wholesome phase. Like those guys were getting hammered and doing drugs all night. So or not, you know what I mean? So that's it's like you said, there's this like sort of stigma that goes around it, and like these assumptions about like what the lifestyle's like. But some people, I know, I'm friends with plenty of bands where I've toured with them. Like actually, when I was in I actually was in that band, the Ataris, for a little bit. That actually happened because
like every band, you're either in the band or one of you knows a band that I loved, absolutely loved in the early 2000s.
But it was because I was filling in with my brother's band, like touring as a guitar player with them, and they had someone during the tour. Someone quit the band, and Chris asked me to just jump in and finish out. Asked me to join for a little bit. But anyway, I did a few years in that band. But like we brought a lot of bands out because I did a lot of touring with the Ataris. That's like a nonstop touring band when things are like that. And we brought plenty of bands out that are fun people. I like them all, but like, man, I was some of those times were the first time I'd ever seen certain drugs in my life in real life. Like, it happened, and I was just like, oh my god, like this is and it's not like we were doing these huge fucking stadium tours or like anything. We were in like these shitty little clubs in Mexico, and like dudes would be like, I just got this drug that I'm gonna fuck. I'm like, all right. You can have fun with that. I'm going to drink this PBR over here.
Yeah. For me, it's like I don't even want to be around it. I feel like just like
how much of a choice? I was stuck in a dressing room the size of a refrigerator.
And I'm not talking about like pot. Like I don't care about pot. Everyone smokes pot. I don't, but mostly everybody does. I'm talking about like people like shooting heroin or something. It's like I don't even know how you could tour like that. Like it's so tired. Like on a band like
a lot of work as it is.
Yeah, like a band our size. You have to load all your gear in and out of every club every night. You have to do all the driving. Man, you know, we did like a 40-date U.S. tour with the Ataris when Rob was before Rob started playing with them, and Rob was playing with us. It was 2010, and man, that was hard. Like you're driving from Chicago to Des Moines and then to Denver, and it's like these are like 12-hour drives. So like you're unloading, you're playing a show, loading back into the van, driving 12 hours, loading into the club. I don't know when do you have time to do heroin? I don't know.
Well, I think the guys doing heroin probably had guys to do all that shit for you.
Yeah, well, I'm sure at some point. Yeah.
I will say, and it's not really like I don't do heroin, but like even even doing the thing where like the only thing I have to do is play for an hour. Like when we do the last tour that we did in the UK, it was a headlining tour, and they were really big rooms and stuff. So we did a whole show. So like we did like 90-minute shows, like an hour and a half show. It's not the most strenuous thing in the world, but there's like, that's a lot of pressure. Like it was entirely sold out. Like we sold out Brixton Academy. That's like one of those bucket list places. And like doing something like that, like you're not going to walk onto that stage and like not accomplish the thing you're there to do. And even when everything else is sort of taken care of, there's still an agenda for the day. There's still I got to sound check at this time. Then we got to do this acoustic performance at this time. Then sometimes you got to do press and you got to do this. So whether you're lugging the gear in or not, or just playing the show or doing all of it, there's still always something going on, except for a few hours in the morning. And who's drinking and doing drugs in the morning? I think then that's more of just
Some people.
Alcoholics.
That's beyond. Well, that's, I was saying, that's beyond the whole like life of a touring musician thing, and that's like well, there's some serious problems you need to talk about with somebody.
Well, also too, I think like you have the phones now, so like you got to worry about getting caught, or like
Sure.
someone seeing you and taking a video and you're ending up on Instagram.
It's so wild when you bring that up too, because like that affects everything, not just like getting caught doing drugs, but like the things you say on stage now, like the things you do with with people interacting, like a band like NoFX, where they make like really off-color, they make really off-color jokes. But that's been their whole career,
right?
And then, but now people have their cell phones, so then they say something off color and it offends somebody, and now like they can't play in the U.S. for an entire year.
Yeah,
or
well,
like,
I mean,
it's funny that you brought that up. They're probably one of my favorite bands ever, is NoFX, and I completely forgot that even happened until you just brought it up right now. Because that's it, where it was a hot button item, and it happened. And again, I'm not for offending people. I'm for that's what NoFX does. Like I've seen that band more than I've seen any band in the world. They've said some of the most fucked up shit I could imagine anyone ever saying in front of 1,000 people all the time. And the way I sort of saw that was NoFX is used to, they're a band that has a 30-something, plus year career, where they're used to, they show up and they play for those people, whether it was the 80s when it's 10 people or it's now when it's 1,000 people or more. It's just, they do that. They're playing for that crowd, right? They're not playing for YouTube. So when they say something completely fucked up on stage, it's supposed to be the shock value and next song, the show goes on.
Right.
That's the NoFX thing, right? It's part of their shtick. It's part of who they are as a band. And it just so happened that it made it to people that are not necessarily fans of the band or what they do, and it can just sort of be like, well, that was a fucked up thing to say, and sure it was, but you're not the audience for it, so right? I don't know.
Well, it's like comedians, even comedians these days. They're worried about
the same thing.
Yeah, it just
and that's why for me the best shows are the ones with the guys who don't give a shit. When you watch like Bill Burr and like Dave Chappelle and all his new specials, like they're still the best shows because they're being genuine. They're just being like, I don't fucking care. I'm gonna say whatever. We're all going into this knowing that everything I'm saying is not literal. Like I'm saying this because we're trying to let off some steam, and like we don't think some of this stuff. We're just
exaggerated.
Exaggerated.
Was on about this where it's like it's jokes. It's jokes. Like you gotta stop. Like these are jokes. He's like this is you can't get offended by a joke.
I literally wrote one of my songs about this because it does bother me a lot. Where it's like, I don't know. I understand, like, if you're like, I think intention is one of the most important things when it comes to offense.
Sure.
If there's intention to offend,
then
to hurt someone, then you're an asshole.
Yep.
If you're trying to go out of your way to make someone feel bad about themselves, or like, then you're the fucking asshole. If you're trying to say stuff just to be like, oh God,
if it's an attempt at wit, right? Like it's an attempt to turn a phrase and be witty about it, and like. It's going to be a little rough around the edges. Like that's kind of what comedy is, right? Like
man, the other day we were watching the Eddie Murphy special, like the famous one, where he's like in the red leather suit. Man, the stuff he's saying on that thing, you could never, ever do that live right now.
Yeah.
But people understood, like, oh yeah, whatever. It's not meant to.
A lot of movies and a lot of things where you watch and you're like, we couldn't do it now.
The Office. I just started watching The Office the other day, and
really.
None of that stuff would happen today, like the first 2 seasons or whatever it was.
I'm not very familiar. I mean, I've seen the show.
Neither am I.
Enough to know that to me seems like kind of a recent show. I guess it's not.
It's pretty old, right? It's like 20 years probably. It was like when it started. Almost. When did it start? Like 2005.
05.
Yeah.
So 15 years.
15 years old.
Yeah.
It's pretty old.
It is old. But like back then,
like it,
I wasn't in the right mindset for that kind of comedy, so like I just didn't care for it, and I just never got into it. But now that I'm older, it's funny.
Yeah,
that's why I always love South Park and like
South Park. Well, not always, but generally is a very funny show. as far as The Office goes, though, I was never really into it. I actually sort of resisted it at first because I was younger. I could be stubborn. I still can be, but I sort of hung up my cool guy hat and like allowed myself to enjoy it when it was like on TV, and like I laughed at it and I stopped resisting laughing at it. And like, there's some really funny moments in that show.
Yeah, I haven't.
Me admitting it to someone else that I find it kind of funny. When I always say
Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones. I haven't watched an episode of that. I haven't even watched 2 minutes of it.
Game of Thrones. Class.
Jesus.
So hold on, Johnny. I can elaborate on that. I'm gonna go first. I'm taking this over. So Game of Thrones, right? My buddy Tommy Byer, he was like, Rob, you got to watch this show. It's on HBO. It was like right when it came out too. He's like, I'm giving you my HBO password. You're signing in. You're gonna watch this show because you're gonna love it, and I got someone to talk to about it. I was like, all right, fine. I'll give it a shot. And I, opened it up and it started, and I was like, this kind of looks like Lord of the Rings a little bit, and I didn't really get what was going on. And like then the guy from Lord of the Rings was in it, and then I was like, all right, like
Sean Bean.
Yeah, who always dies and everything apparently.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I hope this isn't a show about swords and speaking like it's old England when it's not, and that kind of shit just bothers me for no reason, but it does. So maybe 4 minutes into the episode, the guy uttered a milady, and I was like, I'm out. And I turned it off and I stopped watching it. I told Tommy to change his password because I didn't even want to like think about it. So I didn't give it another chance, and then it instantly became the biggest show in the universe that's ever existed, and everyone in the world loves it. And then only a couple of years ago, my brother-in-law Billy was like, I was down in Jersey with Tim, and it was just the three of us because we were like fixing something at the shore shack, like put up the backsplash or something. And we were just hanging out, drinking some beers, and he's like, all right, guys, you got to watch this show, Game of Thrones. I know you've heard of it. And we're like, yeah. And even Tim was like, I tried it once. I didn't really like it. I'm like, me too. He's like, let's just try it now. It's been a few years. Maybe you'll like it. I was like, all right, let's try it. I got past that part, and I like just
the milady.
And I got to the end of the episode, and like someone fell out a window or something. And then nothing about it even seemed remotely appealing to me. And then I was like, we'll start the next episode. And like, we started watching that, and I was like, I want to like it. I want something to happen that's going to make me like it. It pissed me off even more. So we were done with that. I'm like, I'm not giving this one more shot. I tried twice. I wanted to like it, and I couldn't. And that's it. I'm done with Game of Thrones. Never again.
So me and my brother have a lot of similar interests, a lot. But there's two things that we very much depart on. That is the first, like fantasy, like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones.
Lord of the Rings, though.
Yeah, but you you have to really like that kind of stuff to want to watch a show like Game of Thrones, I think.
So that's got to say something, though. Lord of the Rings is just an incredible set of movies because I like it, and I'm not into that stuff, like Magic the Gathering and your silly nerd games. But, no offense to anyone that likes them. But he's forcing it down me my whole life. So I do like Lord of the Rings a lot. What's the other one that we differ in? Are you going to say Star Trek? Because
Star Trek.
I liked what J.J. Abrams did with it for one movie.
And I don't like what J.J. Abrams did with it. I'm a big Star Trek fan.
Entertaining, and something happened. And it wasn't.
As you could see, like even from the background of my screen here, I'm a big Star Wars fan. That's AT-AT.
Same.
Not a Star Wars fan, not a Star Trek fan, not a Lord of the Rings fan.
So you don't like any science fiction lore? You don't like any fantasy? He likes grounded reality.
Yeah, I mean.
What's your favorite movie?
Huh?
What's your favorite movie?
I have no. I couldn't tell you that. I could not tell you that.
Give us a movie spectrum. Because I could be like, I love Indiana Jones. I love Back to the Future.
Yep.
The Predator.
Yep.
Hang on a second. Hold on, stop. Every single movie you mentioned is basically a science fiction movie.
Right. I don't like the space stuff, and
you gotta stay on Earth. That's the rule.
I like staying here on Earth. The whole
and you can't have British accents.
No,
and there can't be any swords.
I don't like movies. I don't like movies before 1980. I just don't like them. I don't like the quality of them. Pre 1980.
I'll kind of get on board with that, but they're like The Godfather, And like, there's like some 70s movies that are
Rocky,
really
you
good.
gotta like Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky.
I do like Rocky. I'll give you that.
1976.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, there's some 70s stuff that's pretty good.
But if my wife says, "Oh, I want to watch this movie," I'm like, "What year is it?" And she says it's 1970. Well, no, we're not watching it.
So even taking it a little further, I don't like the movie, and I get so much shit for this, and it's because it's also my wife's favorite movie of all time. Also, a lot of people love it. I don't like the Goonies.
What?
Yeah.
I don't like it because the production value of it is depressing. Like, it's just shittily done. It looks like a crappy theme park that someone tried to build and they like didn't do it right. Didn't have enough money. Like, it's not. It sucks.
Yeah, I mean,
you broke him.
I don't know.
That's what bugs me about it. It's what bugs you about other movies.
Yeah, no, it's a
common ground a little bit on that.
Yeah,
like, you can like the movie, maybe the story's incredible, I guess, even though it's ridiculous.
We have, between Rob and I, we definitely have a lot of like very controversial takes on some things. Like, there's certain bands that we both just don't care for at all. That everyone's like, how could you not like Pink Floyd? Like, I don't like Pink Floyd. I don't like them. Yeah, see, look, maybe you're having a hard time listening to this.
A couple songs,
Oh no, he's with us.
All right. Another one for me is Van Halen. I don't like Van Halen.
Couple songs.
I like Van Halen a whole lot, and I've never really been adverse to them. So I'm not trying to say all of a sudden I just love them. Like, they've had really catchy songs. Remember the Pepsi commercial with the Right Now, the Right Now song, right?
Yeah. I like that song.
The hits are great, right? And that's really what I knew. I knew a couple other things, and then being in Bowling for Soup, I'm just exposed to it fucking nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, everyone in his band is 10 plus years older than him, so it's like you're gonna.
Gary's not 10 years older.
Gary's 44.
No, he's 41.
How old's Gary?
Me and Gary have like a.
Gary's 41.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
okay.
He and I, but he's in he was like, he loves Guns N' Roses, and he loves Van Halen, and he's part of the metal like kind of thing. Yeah. So I think Van Halen's great. I think some of their songs are
I don't
timeless.
I don't like Pink Floyd.
I do not care for Pink Floyd. I don't like Led Zeppelin. I
don't dislike Led Zeppelin.
I like the components of Led Zeppelin. John Bonham's one of the greatest drummers of all time. Robert Plant can sing any note in the world and do it really well, right? Like, they're all incredible. Jimmy Page is Jimmy Page, right?
Great guitar player.
And then the other guy, he's good.
The bass guy.
The bass player. No one gives a shit about the bass player. We all know that.
He's their Ringo.
Yeah. So like, but there's no Led Zeppelin song where I'm like, that's it. That rules. Doesn't do it for me.
See, we grew up, so like me and Rob, our house was a Beatles house.
Okay. And Eric Clapton.
The Eagles, Tom Petty.
That's how my parents were. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we were.
Well, Ted, how old are you?
I'm 36.
Okay, so we're kind of close.
Yeah.
And then Rob, you're how old?
34. We're all in the same bracket.
Yeah, it's like we're a couple years apart.
We're Generation X, millennial tail people. Like, we're at the end of Generation X, the beginning of millennial.
Yeah, we played outside and didn't have cell phones until we were old enough to know what they did.
I didn't have a cell phone until I was 23. That was my first cell phone.
I got one kind of early. I got one when I was 17, and it was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, I had a bag phone for the car when I turned 16 when I started driving. But that was like, you don't turn it on. You don't even plug it in unless you need it.
I had a car phone in the car, my first car, but it was hooked up to nothing. So it was merely aesthetic.
Yeah.
It was just like
it was Steven's old car, the Taurus.
I bought my cousin's old car for $1, and it broke down after like 3 months of owning it. But it had a car phone in it that did nothing. It was just there.
It was just cool because you had a car phone in your phone.
Yeah, it was like, I thought it was cool. I was like, oh, I got a car phone. Like, you know.
And I had a cell phone like in high school, early college. That again, it was like you used it if you had to. Until I was 20 years old, that like
the Zach Morris one.
Started texting on it, yeah.
The Vietnam, like the backpack. And,
yeah.
The backpack was basically the car phone, because the car phone, they had those like Velcro tears.
Yep.
There was like giant buttons on them.
Yeah, like if you wanted to get to that phone, like you needed muscles to open the thing up.
Oh yeah. But I remember I had this I forget what it was. Maybe I don't know who made it, but it was like my first cell phone, and it was like this giant. It was like this big. It was this big black phone. It had this little clip on the back, but it was like this thick.
Oh, like the belt clip.
Yeah, it looked like a walkie-talkie. Like it was huge. And I had it, and I would like bring it with me, but like I would leave it in the car all the time because I don't want to walk around with like a 4-pound weight. So like I left in like a little, the thing in your car that like is for nothing, like on the car door on the side. Like I don't know what those are for. It's like a slot for magazines.
They're for trash.
They're for maps.
I thought it was for trash.
Yeah, for
maps.
atlases.
They're for maps. Yep.
Yeah. So it's useless. So I used to keep it in there, and I used it so infrequently that I forgot that I had it, and I lost it. And I was looking for my phone and didn't even think to look there, and then I had to get a new one. And that was when like it became reasonable size, like, which is funny because then like old cell phones were this size, but now this is.
They've gotten bigger again.
Yes.
It's weird to think because like when we started touring and playing shows, nobody had phones.
We'd use the big map.
So when you would go on tour, you had the big map, and it would be a highlighter. It would be a highlighter on the route that you were going to drive. And then the next step up from that was we would map quest and print.
No, but when you would highlight the route, so basically you'd have the phone number of where you were going.
Yeah, the
you'd
club.
You'd highlight the route. You'd get off the highway, and then when you got into town, you'd call them from a payphone.
And they'd give you like, past the pizza place, like
past Ray's Pizza, and then like right on the Oak.
What?
Yeah.
And then we started printing out MapQuest directions.
I remember that being like that was the solution to me.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, we're in the future now.
And what I was also gonna say is like the kids, like when you would play a show, people were just there was no like people weren't doing this like.
Yeah, of course not.
Right.
It's like it's so weird because like the bands that are now, because like even though like my band like so like I said I'm 36 and we're starting Don't Panic right now. There's lots of people doing the same thing I'm doing who are 18, and they don't know anything but that. Where it's like they go to a show and everyone's watching their show like this. It's like we went to go see Paul McCartney 5 years ago or so at Madison Square Garden. And the lady in front of us, me and Rob had our seats next to each other.
I got so angry at that lady.
She had this huge iPad.
Like it's the best.
Holding it up and just filming the whole concert on this giant iPad.
But like almost strategically placing it so that we couldn't see
blocking our view. Like we're like, could you move your you fucking watching this show right now? Like why?
Yeah,
like
I even said I was like, can you just like hold it down maybe? Like film it, do whatever you want, but like just hold it down. Like you're putting it in front of my face. I'm behind you. Like just go like this. She was hammered. She started yelling at me, and I was like,
yeah, they got into an argument
real quick, and then I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna just continue to watch the show. Because that's what I'm here to do.
Are you buying concert tickets to film the show on your phone?
And they're never going to watch it again. They'll never watch it again.
No.
Because it's going to sound like shit.
Instagram. They're going a clip will go on Instagram.
I
went and saw Foo Fighters last week. See, like,
actually, it made me think it's the new version of like back in the day, like kids in high school would have like all their concert tickets like pinned on their wall, right?
Yeah.
Like, in your bedroom. So now it's like you put it on your Instagram, a little clip of it. There's your proof that you went. Yeah. There's your cool card, right? You went and saw it.
It does bum me out.
Do people get concert tickets anymore?
I don't think so. I was going to say, like, it bums me out when I don't get a physical ticket. Even if I get the Ticketmaster printout, I at least keep that still.
Yeah, I think. But actually, no. I think venues still, even if you did like because they scan it with.
You can request tickets, but they take longer to get to you. I mean, it's like okay.
I would like to inconvenience myself to have a ticket, please. Like,
yeah, but a lot of people will like buy them, and then they have the tickets wait at the box office, and then you go up there. But then you're going to a different line to get back into the line, so it is more convenient to just. It's like boarding a plane. Like, when's the last time you didn't use your phone to board a plane?
I want to make sure that I want my ticket, and then I don't want to have to worry about losing the ticket in a purse. My wife has like
in your purse.
I was super happy. Me and Rob, like we have a friend who's like a professional wrestler, and she got me like tickets to one of their I forget the event. It was
like Raw, like with a Monday night thing.
No, it was a pay-per-view.
Oh, was it?
But I don't know. I don't remember it. But So I went with our drummer Anthony, and we went down. Anthony's the biggest wrestling fan on the planet, and
I think I called him a nerd, didn't I?
you did in the one time we
He
were
wasn't.
talking.
He wasn't. He wasn't that, was he?
It's everything Anthony does is an act, like start to finish.
Wait till he hears this.
Yeah. So this girl, her name's Alexa, and she's a wrestler for WWF, and she.
Alexa Bliss, people know who that is. Don't be so modest.
So I met her at Rob's show. She's a big fan of Rob's band, and I was on tour with them last summer, and she came to the Orlando show, and we hung out up backstage, and she gave me her number, and she's like, anytime I'm in town, like hit me up. So I saw she was coming to Philly, and I was like, hey, like, Anthony's a huge wrestling fan. Like maybe Rob's free. Rob might not be able to come, but so she gave me she was like, oh, I'll put you on the will call. Just go and just say like, oh, I'm on this person's list. So I went down to the will call. They had actual tickets, and I was like, holy shit! Like they gave us tickets. So I was like, I actually have mine still.
Yeah, that's like a cool thing to have.
Yeah, that's
right.
Like so. I kind of missed that. Or it's like, oh, this is really awesome. It's like a memento that you just get to keep. And now it's like you don't get that. You just get a barcode. And you're just like,
Jarrett, because basically what he's talking about is it's this wrestler named Alexa Bliss. She's like this little blonde wrestler, and she was like a big Bowling for Soup fan growing up, and then her and Jarrett, our singer, got connected a few years ago by means of just like, I don't know, knowing mutual people or however it worked out, and she invited him to come out to, I don't know if it was like WrestleMania, like one of the big events that she was wrestling in. And he went and, cause he brought Jack, his son, and he got like this chair. Like it wasn't just like a ticket, like the seat that you sit in, like they give you the goddamn chair. Like it's but it's printed with like all the wrestlers on it and shit.
We got them too.
You got the chairs?
No. So here's what happened. So the tickets she gave me and Anthony were front row behind the announcer.
Yeah, behind the
table. I haven't watched. The last time I watched wrestling was like Stone Cold was a brand new wrestler. It was like 1998. You know what I mean? Or
Those are the
days.
Like, those are the days.
Yeah, I agree. Those were fun to watch. Those were really silly, But anyway, so like I don't know any of the new wrestlers. So I went with Anthony and my cousin Vince, and we got to the front row, and we're like, what the fuck? Like, I cannot believe we're in like the announcers were like, I could grab the guy, like he's right in front of me. And on the thing, it said at the end of the show, you can take your chair with you. So the chair you sat, and it said like the event on the back of the chair.
Yeah, it was like printed, like custom for the event, like all the wrestlers on it and stuff.
But the rule was you had to stay until the end of the event. And her match was like somewhere in the middle. And when she was done, she texted me and she's like, do you guys want to go meet me and my other wrestler friend for dinner? And we're like, yeah, that sounds way cooler than watching an event. I came to watch you. You're done. I don't know who these people are. So it's like, so we forfeited our chair. So like we gave our seat to whoever, like some guy. We're like, yeah, go ahead, keep our chairs or whatever.
We need to keep those seats filled.
Yeah, we forfeited our chairs.
Kramer.
Yeah. At the Tonys.
Yeah. Wrestling was fun back like early 2000s, late 90s for me.
We used to watch it. We would watch it all. Me and Rob would every Monday or Thursday?
It was both, and I remember watching it as a really little kid, and then we kind of gave up on it, and then watched it again on like that late 90s revival.
Yes, same with me. We'd have like pay-per-view parties. There's like 10 of us that get together, and we pitch $5 or whatever.
We would always hang out at like Ian's or Chris Daughter's or like
it would be like WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, like all like the cool ones, And
I just went to like a WrestleMania like 7 years ago. Was it The Rock was wrestling again?
Yeah, see, again. So like
again,
so he had stopped wrestling and then started wrestling again.
Yes.
So like
a one-off.
He was like the new.
Yeah, he was like the new guy when we were watching.
He was actually. I remember the new guy being Stone Cold, and then The Rock being like the sort of like answer
bad guy. Yeah.
The Rock had hair. Yeah.
When Hulk Hogan was on like a different wrestling network or whatever.
WCW.
Yeah.
That always
we used to watch.
me.
So we had those big. Remember those big wrestlers that were just
Yeah.
They're
The
rubber. We had a bunch of them. We had like a Hulk Hogan. And
metal wire.
Ultimate Warrior.
yeah. And then they had the ones where they like their hands would
The
flick.
plastic ones.
And they'd throw. You put the guy in like.
Yeah, you press like a red button on his spine. You could throw stuff.
Oh man. Ted, so you're the older brother here.
Yes.
Did you ever feel an ounce of jealousy towards Rob?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I was the best man at his wedding, which was last year, and that was part of my best man speech. It was just like I started, we started playing in a band together. Like even though he's 2 years younger than me, we started like exactly at the same time. When we started our band, neither of us knew how to play an instrument. Like the way we started the band was like it was me, our best friend Ian, and Rob.
Which is funny. Is an addendum there. Ian is now our guitar tech in Bowling for Soup.
Yeah. So the three of us were in our basement, and we were like, we want to start a band. And everyone's like, all right, who wants to be the drummer? And then we went around the room. We're like, all right, Rob's going to be the drummer. And then like what happened was that everyone bought their stuff and then learned that thing. Like it wasn't like
you were committed. Like then you had to play that instrument.
So we started in the same spot, and what wound up happening was the band that me and Rob started broke up because Rob had to go to college, and I joined that band Split 50. And then I was the one doing a ton of shit. I was on Warped Tour every summer. We were signed to a label. We were putting out albums, and Rob was going to school, and he was like had his own band, but couldn't be as busy. So I'm sure that's how he felt about me being able to do all stuff. It's like he probably had the same feeling now that I have about him.
Right.
Yes, I'll admit it. Then I was like, this is what I should still be doing because, like you said, we sort of started on the even playing ground. So it was like I'm supposed to be doing that same thing right now, and I'm like kind of not.
So then Rob joined Patent Pending, and then we went back on the even playing ground. And then Split 50 broke up, and I started my own band. So I kind of started from scratch, but Rob kept riding Patent Pending, and then he joined the Ataris, and then he joined Bowling for Soup. So he's been on this like upward incline of like joining bigger and bigger bands. So it's like, I went on tour last summer with them, and his band was co-headlining Real Big Fish, and it was a U.S. tour. And man, I went on the tour, and I called up the singer Jarrett, and I was like, "Is it cool if I come on this tour?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't care." So I was like, "Well, I want to do something. I want to help." And he's like, "No." He's like, "Your job is to come and drink our beer."
You'd just be getting in the way if you like trying to help.
So it's like, okay. So like every day, all I did was just drink and watch my brother perform for 2,000 people every night. So I was just like, yeah, I'm starting to get a little jealous of this. Like I want to go on tour and do this stuff, which was like the big motivator for me to start Don't Panic in last August. I got home from that tour, and it was like, I was like a, not just jealousy fueled, but like a hunger, like a desire. Like I saw my brother doing it, even though he's been doing it for the past couple of years before that. I actually got to physically see it because I didn't really ever go to any of the shows or anything. Not because I didn't want to, I just never did.
Right.
And we're never really close.
Yeah. So
it's always somewhere else.
So yeah, that was like the driving force when I got home. I was like, I got to start playing in a band again because
it's for you too. It's you're not like an accountant that's sitting in an office building. You're still involved with like booking bands and scheduling tours and things like that. So you're still involved in a way.
That makes it even worse. Because anytime a band that I would work for, because like from 2011 or 2012, I'd say, until 2019, I didn't play at all. Like no shows. I didn't write any music. I didn't record any music. I barely picked up my guitar. And I just completely was focused on my business, booking tours, like building a life for myself as far as like making money. But anytime any of the bands that I worked for would come play reasonably close, I'd go. Because, it's like, you want to be interactive with your clients and stuff. I'd go to the show, I'd hang out. but then I would just get to see them play a show, and I'd be like, oh, I kind of wish I was doing this. So it's like I get to book all these awesome tours, and then I just don't get to go on them. I just get to like be like, have fun, like, you know, like. But I put the Ataris on tour with Newfound Glory, and it's like, have a good time, guys. Like, I'll be here.
Send them off to college, right?
Yeah. So,
I mean,
it's double-edged sword.
But you're still like, it's still, you're involved in it somehow. Like, you're still like, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm very grateful that I'm not, you know, I'm not an accountant or something.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, it, and also, go ahead.
You're saying
my father-in-law is a CPA.
All right. Well, it's not like you're.
It's not like I'm in the Navy.
Yeah, you're not a janitor. Not that there's anything wrong with being a janitor. It's not like you're
working in an office building.
Yeah. Oh, that's me. That's me. I do that.
It's not like I'm selling advertising for some
on the radio.
It's kind of funny. Is that's what our dad did. Our dad was sold advertising on the radio when we moved to Pennsylvania. He worked for Froggy 101. If you
no kidding.
That radio.
No kidding.
That was his job.
That's funny. What a small world too.
But
it's also got to be cool too. Like, you're the older brother, so it's almost kind of different because like if you were the younger brother and your big brother was successful, like you'd always kind of like be trying to live in his shoes or get to his level. But like,
yeah, it's like a chasing kind of thing.
Being the older brother, you're kind of like, oh, that's my little brother. I'm proud of him. You know?
Yeah, no, I'm very proud of Rob. He's doing a great job.
Yeah,
he's a talented guy. He can
just imagine how Scott Shiflett feels.
He's the older brother as well.
That's
so like, yeah,
his
so
younger
like
brother than the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, so like one of our favorite bands is band Face to Face, and the Scott Shiflett is the bass player.
He's the reason why I want to quit playing bass because he's the greatest bass player in the world.
Unbelievable.
And every time I watch him, it does the opposite. I think it would encourage me to do better, and it discourages me to be like, I'll never be able to do that because he's incredible.
And his younger brother is Chris Shiflett, who's the guitar player from the Foo Fighters.
Okay.
So I'm sure he goes like, all right, my band Face to Face is going to go on tour. We're going to go play for 500 people every night. And then like, then your brother's going to go play for 50,000 people tomorrow night. Like, quite the disparity, but
I'm sure there's no competition there. They're a very musical family.
And it's same with like, I don't feel competition with my brother either. I'm like, I get excited. Like he's going on tour with Lit in May in England.
Oh man,
it's like
awesome.
It's like one of my favorite bands.
Actually,
mine too.
And it's one of the first like club shows I ever saw. We saw Lit in like 1999 or something.
It was Lit. It was Lit and 22 Jacks.
Yes, at Tinks.
Yeah, it was the Tinks.
Remember that being like one of the first like
1999.
It was one of the first like bigger club shows I ever saw. Like because we saw like Eric Clapton before that and stuff. So we saw like stadium shit, like the real. Then we'd see like local bands and stuff. But like seeing the first like real kind of club thing was Lit, and I always loved that album since it came out. A Place in the Sun, and got to know those guys over the years because I did like played a festival with them. Pat and Penny did a couple tour dates with them, and like just kind of not really kept in touch, but we'd see each other and be like, hey, like acquaintances, which was really cool for me already. And then we have this tour coming up that like Jared, like they've been talking about it for years apparently, like doing a Bowling for Soup and Lit thing in the UK. And
see, I'm jealous of that. It's not about being jealous. Like that. So the things that make me jealous are the thing. It's not of my brother. It's the stuff he's getting to do.
Right.
Specifically, like one night at like 4 a.m, he's like frantically texting me. You'll never believe who I'm hanging out with at this bar. And he's in Australia because he was playing on what was the festival?
Soundwave Festival.
Soundwave Festival in Australia with Pat and Pending. And he starts texting me in the middle of the night. You'll never believe who I'm hanging out with at this bar. I actually have to pee right now.
Me too.
So, oh man.
You can't leave me by myself.
Rob, can you tell the story? Let's let me go pee and then you can go pee.
I have to try to remember
it. You know who the hell you're talking about. So, so this was what Rob was texting me about. I'll be right back.
All right.
So, all right. It was Soundwave Festival, and the way that festival works, it's like a very social kind of festival. Like you play the shows, but then afterwards you're sort of encouraged to like go out in the city and do shit and like go to this bar because this is where people know that the bands go to, and some bands are into that, some aren't, but like whatever. Like it's just a fun environment, and like basically, if you're playing in Sydney, you're gonna bump into people. It's a big city, but it's a big festival, so a lot of things happening and stuff. So we end up at this like tiny little dive bar in Sydney, and it's a basement bar. It's a pizza place bar. Like that's like it's not even, you know what I mean? That's how like dive eat is in a good way. And I'm there with Anthony, who's Pat and Penning's drummer, and Mark, who's the guitar player. And we're just we've been drinking all day because this was an off day actually. So it was like we were in pretty rough shape, and this really late at night, and I'm kind of talking to Anthony, and I'm like his back is facing the door, like the steps that come down, and I'm facing the steps. And this guy comes down, and I say to Anthony, I was like, look at this Dave Grohl looking motherfucker. I thought like a dude that looks like Dave Grohl, like a plaid shirt with the beard and stuff. And then behind him, I'm like, look at this fucking Pat Smear looking motherfucker. And then it clicked. I'm like, that's Dave Grohl and Pat Smear. Like, this is the Foo Fighters walking into this bar right now. That was pretty packed. And like, they they didn't really get mobbed, but kind of like people started like really gathering and stuff. And I was like, all right, like step one, I'm in a bar with Dave Grohl. That's cool enough. Like that, I've already got some rock and roll credit by being in a bar with Dave Grohl, like in a big bar or a small bar, I should say. So then it kind of progresses a little bit, and Mark he was working for that band. You know that band Zebrahead? He was so they're kind of like that. They're like a rap rock punk kind of thing.
Zebrahead.
But anyway, so Mark was their tour manager. So they'd done festivals where he's actually met Dave Grohl before, and years before this. And he was like, I had a really good conversation with him at this one festival where this like stage collapsed or something. So he's like, I wonder if he remembers me. This like not gonna happen, but like, Dave, it's Mark. We know this. They both were friends with Motorhead's manager, right? So he was like, oh, we both know. I forget the guy's name. But he's like, we both know so and so. And Dave's like, Dave Grohl. Dave, like I know, Mr. Grohl. So Mark, he actually says, oh shit. That's right. You and I talked at that festival in Poland, and he pointed it out years later. Was like, oh, that's right. That's where we talked. And, you know, we're in a bar environment drinking and stuff. So I was like, well, that's cool. Yeah. And I'm standing with him. So I didn't want to say, hey, I'm just some guy, Dave. Nice to meet you. So they're done talking for their few seconds, and I just put up my hand, and he just high five. He's like, all right, man, like got a high five. So like step 2, I got a high five from Dave Grohl in the bar. That was cool. So then time goes by, like, you know, maybe another half hour or so, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go grab us another round. And I go up to the bar, and it's crowded, and I'm like, he's in here somewhere, but I'm not gonna be that guy that's trying to just flag him down and look, can you sign this or that? Because I don't really like to do that,
right?
Like get autographs and shit. It's cool to have them, and I don't reject them if I get them, but I don't like to ask for them because then I feel silly. I don't know. So, right. And I get to the bar, and I feel this like tap on my shoulder, like a pretty hard tap. And I had like, it was Australia in their summertime, so it was wintertime here. So I was wearing like a tank top, like a sleeveless shirt, and I had like no sleeves on it, like a t-shirt. And like all the tattoos I have, they're like it's just, I think like the Roman art and architecture is cool, so I got a tattoo to me. Anyway, so I get this tat, and it's this short little guy in a bright yellow shirt, this bald guy. He's like, hey man, I like the tats. And I was like, oh cool, thank you. He's like, yeah, it's like, I like the Roman stuff too. I think it's really neat. And we start talking about it, like, he's wearing, I figured he's like bar security or something, but I've been drinking all day, and I realized, I was like, you have an American accent. I was like, what are you doing here? Like, did you like move here? He's like, no. He's like, I'm with him. And the other side of him is Dave Grohl, like leaning over the bar, talking to people, like being loud and whatever. I was like, oh shit, that's cool. He's like, you want to meet him? I'm like, no, it's fine. He goes, no. He's like, you seem like a fun guy. Hey, Dave, this is my buddy Rob. And Dave Grohl turns around. He's like, hey man. And I was like, hi. Like, and he's really like, you imagine these people are massive for some reason. You know what I mean? Like, you always think like a huge famous rock star is going to be this giant person. And I'm short, and he's like, you know, he's a little taller than me, and he's like talking really close into my face, and he keeps like playing with his hair and stuff.
Right. Close talker.
Like, hey man. And yeah, he's a close talker. And he's just like really excited to just be talking, which I thought was bizarre, because I'm like, this is all, like, you can talk to whoever you want whenever you want. Like, you don't need options. Like, you don't need to think like, does this person want to talk to me? Like, everyone wants to talk to you. You're Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a really friendly conversation, just kind of bullshitting and stuff. And like, 10 feet down the bar, I see Mark and Anthony waiting for me, but they're like looking at me like, Rob's talking to Dave Grohl. So they like start moving. And like they kind of get in the thing, but he was like, what are you doing? He was like, you're American. And I had this like bright pink hair at the time. And I was like, we're playing this Soundwave Festival. He's like, oh, that's awesome. He's like, they were doing their own tour there. They weren't even playing the festival. It was just a coincidence that they were there. So he was like, oh man, he's like, that festival was bought out by another festival. It used to be called Big Day Out. He's like, and I played there. He's like, I used to be in this band called Nirvana. And I was like, are you fucking kidding?
I know who you are.
I literally went, are you fucking kidding me? And he kind of laughed. He's like, ah. So I was like, all right. And then Mark's there. He's like, oh, you from before? And I was like, this is Anthony, our drummer. He's like, a fucking drummer. And they start talking. So the four of us are like having this great conversation that's like, we're like a few minutes into it. And there's people coming up, like tapping him, like to get pictures. And he's being great. He's like, yeah. Turning around, like taking the selfie with a big Dave Grohl grin and like getting back to our conversation and like turning around, signing something. So like me and Anthony and Mark had this like silent conversation in our head. We're like, don't ask him for a picture or autograph. Just enjoy the moment. We sort of kept talking and then Mark's like, hey, this is probably 15 minutes in. Mark's like, Dave, let me get us a round of shots. Like, what do you like? You like Jack? He's like, of course I like Jack. Let's do it. And then Dave Grohl said something. I can remember this, like every moment of this, because this is like the coolest thing.
Sure, yeah.
And he said, only something that Dave Grohl can get away with saying. And he was like, you know what, Mark? No, fuck that. I'm the rock star. I'm buying the shots. Anything you guys don't like? And Mark and I are like, no tequila. No tequila. He's like, all right.
5 tequilas.
6 shots of tequila. Yep. And we did shots of tequila, then we did more shots, and we just kept drinking. And the next day I had the worst hangover ever that I've ever had in my life. But I was like sort of embracing it.
Yeah.
So it's funny because tequila is actually one of the things I do like to do. Like tequila is like one of the few shots I do like.
Not if you were drinking wine all day, then beer, then mixed drinks. Then you start taking shots of tequila.
Yeah, I mean,
it didn't work so well.
Yeah, I had a bad night with tequila once in college, and it took me about 10 years to kind of come back to it. Yeah.
Man, our cousin one time played beer pong with tequila.
I know the story, so I'm going to
And
we had to carry him.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
We went. It was like actually when me and my brother were playing in our band together, and we went and escaped to our cousin's college for the weekend, and his 2 brothers came. So like the 5 of us were really close, and we went to a college party, and they were playing beer pong, but they ran out of beer. So he was just like, let's just do tequila. Man, I'd never seen anyone that drunk in my life. We had to, like Rob said, we had to carry him out like he was like a mummy. And we showed up to the party in like a hatchback like truck. It had like, you know, like the back on it already, and we had to like slide him in like luggage.
That's funny.
He was like a dead man.
That's really funny. Oh man, I've only had one encounter of a famous person, I guess you could say, and that was the lead singer of Blue October, Justin Furstenfeld.
So Rob's band. They have the same manager. Blue October.
Really?
Yeah.
Justin's, so I met him a few times. I got the pleasure of like, you know, doing meet and greets for the station, all that kind of stuff. And like, was it May of 2018? Yeah, because my son was like he's probably 6 months old or whatever at the time. He was at the back room of the station, and my wife came and brought the kids. So that was like the first like concert he saw. It was an acoustics thing, and we were out in the lobby, so it wasn't loud. But before that, he was back in the green room. My wife and I are big fans, and like he was cool with like, yeah, come back, yeah. And he loves kids too. He's like, yeah, come back. He's like, oh, who's this? And this is Lincoln, our son, blah, blah. 6 months later, they did a show with us again at the Woodlands. We were without our child. We had a babysitter, and first thing he said to us, he's like, guys, how's it going? How's the kid doing? Like he remembered us. Yeah. He remembered us, like, you know, having our son. It was like, wow, this is really cool. And then I think 6 months after that, I got to introduce them at the FM Kirby Center.
Cool.
And I found that out like maybe 4 hours before the show. I was shitting my pants the entire time beforehand. And like he knew, he could tell that I was nervous. And I'll never forget, they were doing, like, he was doing push-ups in the back, getting ready for the show, and he could tell I was nervous. And he walked up to me, gave me a hug, and said, "You're going to be great." I was like, holy shit, like this guy just gave me a hug.
That's how we started this podcast before we went live. I gave you a hug and told you how great you were going to be.
Ah, there we go. Full circle. Full circle.
Which guy are we talking about? I missed all of that.
I was talking about Justin Furstenfeld from Blue October. That was
Era, Blue October.
What information to give Popko about them right now, Rob? What are you going to tell him about them?
Should I?
No,
I mean, like, what do you mean? Like, what?
I just told him you have the same manager.
Oh, so you said that already. I was going to say, anytime I hear Blue October now, because it's like anytime we're talking with our management or anything, I feel like they're the bigger brothers. They're always like, you should do what they're doing.
no, he's a special human being, and I was hoping to interview him before the station kind of changed format, especially when I was doing Sober October, because I know he's sober and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't want to exploit his sobriety to an attempt to get an interview, but I was doing some stuff for the station, and I wanted to, because he's one of my favorite. They're a favorite band of mine and my wife. And I was telling Ted, I've had the pleasure of meeting him a few times. Like my son, he was one of the first people my son ever met. And my son was like 6 months old, and meet. I use it loosely. But then like 6 months later, we saw the band again. They did a show for us, but it was at night, so we had a babysitter. And like, the first thing he asked me was like, "Hey guys, how you guys doing? Like, how's your kid doing?" Blah blah blah. So it was cool that he remembered us. And then 6 months after that, we saw him again. He was doing a show at the Kirby Center, and I found out that I was going to announce them on stage. And he could tell I was nervous. I was shitting my pants the entire afternoon. Like, oh my God. Like, I mumble the way it is. Like, what the hell am I going to say? Like, so I always think like ahead of myself. So I tend to mumble my words and get ahead of myself.
It's a solid quality for a radio DJ.
Oh, perfect. It's the best quality. That's why they got rid of me. No, but
oh no.
but so I think he could tell I was nervous, and he came up to me and gave me a hug and said, "You're going to be great." And it was just neat. It was a moment that
that like helped, right? Like, because you're like, oh, cool. Like he
I don't think it helped. I don't think it helped at all. I think it made me more nervous. But like, it was just a cool moment for me to have. Like, I mean, like, the guy came up to me, like, he noticed I was nervous. He gave me a hug, and not everyone could say that. So on a different level, I can relate to your story with Dave Grohl, like, like running into him and
just being cool. It's they always say, don't meet your idols and stuff. And I'm going to say that's bullshit, because I one of my favorite bands is Blink-182. I'm a sucker for that band. I love them.
Great band.
There's just something about them. They're actually a big reason I do what I do. Just because for me, it was like, they were the band that was like, aside from Travis Barker, they were the band that was like, anyone can do it. Like, you know what I mean? Not to sound like a dick, but I'm sure they say the same thing. Like, they just kind of showed that like, you don't have to be some shredder to really do it and to have fun and to enjoy it and make it a fun thing. And that always really resonated with me. And that's why I sort of went the route I did with music. But a long time ago, the first one I met from the band was Travis, the drummer. And it was on the Warped Tour. He was playing with that band, The Transplants, with Tim Armstrong from Rancid. And like, my brother was there actually when I met him, because he like came into that after party, and I was like, oh my God, he's here. I was like, do I go bother him? And you were like, just go say hi. Like, I remember you and someone were like, just say hi. What's he gonna do? Punch you in the face? Like, just say hi to the guy. He was like, he asked people. I went and said hi to him, and I was like, I don't know what to say. All I said was like something stupid. I'm like, I think you're an incredible drummer, but like, I try to make it sound eloquent, and he was like. And I was like walking away as soon as I said it, and he was like, no, he's like, oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. And it was like being very friendly and welcoming. And I was like, well, this guy's really nice. And the next day, the drummer in my brother's band, Mike, who's everyone that's a drummer at our age is going to be a fan of Travis Barker's at some level.
Oh, yeah.
You think he's really great or overrated, but I think he's incredible. That's just me. But regardless, he's some sort of influence on our generation of drummers, right? So, I asked him as the night was wrapping up. I'm like, hey, is it cool if we like come watch you on stage tomorrow? He's like, yeah. He's like, come by the tent like this much before, and I'll make sure it's cool. And I went by his tent earlier in the day, and this guy was like, he had a detail, right? Like a security guy. Like, no. And Travis Barker literally stuck his head out. He goes, no, he's cool. This is wow. Like, he said that, and I was like,
yeah,
that was very nice, and that was very thoughtful, and like he like gives a shit, right?
Right.
Brought me in his little tent. He was warming up, handed me a pair of sticks, and he was like, do this with me. That's the coolest thing when you're 20 years old, right? I was just doing 19 or whatever I was. So then watched them on stage like a couple days on that run. And after that, I was like, great, I met someone from Blink, and that was awesome, right? Then a few years later, I met Tom. Same kind of scenario. I remember he was walking by with his kid on his shoulders.
Yeah. He was Angels and Airwaves.
He was playing another band.
I love that band.
Again. And I was like, it's Tom. Like, I actually had met him when I was at Penn State too, but that was like kind of that was like a different thing. It was maybe a couple years before that. But this is when I actually like kind of remember he invited me on his bus, and like he just told me, a stranger, some kid he never met, he's like, yeah, come on my bus, grab a drink with me and talk. We just like talked about guitars and like why we both bought the same amp for the same reason, because Hefe from No Effects had it. Like, we talked about all these like cool things, and he was just really nice, and I'd see him around. He'd like bring me on stage to watch them and things. So then, like I'm saying, like they say, never meet your idols, but like so far I was like, these guys are great. And I was like, well, that's it. I'm never gonna meet Mark. That's because he's the third missing piece in Blink. I'll never meet him. Flash forward to last year, we did that Warped Tour festival because the tour's over. So they did these like 25th anniversary festivals, and we played the Atlantic City.
Oh shit! I was in AC that weekend for the show.
No, you didn't even say hi.
You didn't invite me. I wasn't on the guest list, so sorry.
And I didn't even put you on the guest list. What a dick.
Sorry.
Well, so I was like, cool, Blink-182 is playing. I was like, oh, it's going to be cool to watch them. I hadn't seen them, and we saw them 20 years ago. So I was like, it'd be cool to see them again. And we're literally about to play, and like that's where I had like friends come out, because that was like the closest show we did on that tour to home. So like Tommy Byer was out, Jackie was out, her parents were out, like Billy was, all these people, and like entertaining. It was great. We're literally on the stage about to play, and I do what I always do. I got to go pee first. Like I was pee right before playing. So I have like my monitors in, I'm holding my bass. I run to this like little porta potty thing behind the stage, like this little setup there. And I come out of the bathroom, like zipping up my fly with like my bass to the side and my monitor sticking in my ear. And like Mark Hoppus is literally standing right there, just staring in my direction. And I was like, first of all, like, what is he doing? Like, this isn't even the same stage they're playing. Not even close to the same time they're playing. So I was like, hey, Mark, like it just stuck out my hand. Like after
have you done peeing?
Yeah, you're holding your dick. Hey, Mark, what's going on?
The first thing I said, I went, "Hey, Mark, I washed my hands." And he like shook my hand, and I was like, "My name's Rob. I'm playing Bowling for Soup. We're about to go play right now." And I think he like, because they met before as bands.
Sure, yeah.
They've done shows together, so I think he sort of just drew like a false equivalence. He's like, "Oh yeah, good to see you," and I was like, "Yeah, nice to meet you." Talked to them for I started like getting into a conversation, and I'm like, oh, I have to like go play right now. I was like, maybe I'll come watch you guys later. Is that cool? Like my fiance's here. Is like, can we come up and watch you if you guys have people like on stage? He's like, yeah, that's no problem. He's like, come over to the stage. He's like, I'll be over there. He's like, I'll make sure it's cool. He's like, come on up. I was like, that's really nice. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll see you there. I'm gonna go do my job now. So like, we played the show, finish up, and then they go play. I went over there, and I actually saw Matt Gray over there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he was kind of like hanging like in the same area. So there was this like Live Nation security. Like people, they're not like band detail, or they're not like, they don't work for the Warped Tour. They're just venue security basically. And I was like, I'm supposed to, like I started saying like, supposed to be able to go back there. But I was like, this guy doesn't know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to say, fuck it, and just watch the band from the crowd. Right. And, as I'm saying that, the guy's like, yeah, get out of here. I was like, all right, fine. Turn around, like tail between the legs, and the Sprinter van pulls up, and the door opens, and it's Mark, like with his wife behind. And he's like, hey, he literally went, hey, Rob, what are you doing? I was like, we were going to come watch you, but the guy said, it's whatever. He goes, he literally said this. He goes, it's my stage. You're coming with. And there was a bunch of people standing behind me that I didn't know. And he goes, are these guys with you? I'm like, no. He goes, hey, they're all good. This is Bowling for Soup. Everyone here is Bowling for Soup. We're going. Follow me. And we all walked off the stage behind him, stood up there. He handed someone the Stormtrooper helmet that was sitting on his guitar thing, and we just talked for a minute before they went on, and they played the show, and was just standing right there, right next to him. And I was like, this is cool. They say no, meet your idols, but every one of those guys in that band were incredibly welcoming, practiced incredibly good etiquette, and were just really polite.
Yeah.
And cool.
That's great.
And you could tell, like, they're just, they just love being musicians. Like, they just love to be able to play music and do it for people and have people around it. Like, it was a really neat experience.
I think a lot of us like that. Very hopeful we can get back to doing it at some point.
Yeah, Ted, how do you think things could be different for you if you were the drummer of that initial band? Would you have been where Rob is today?
The band would have been a lot worse. Well,
No, seriously.
That we would have learned
like,
the same thing at the same time.
No, because you start at the same time. You're like, everyone's like, okay, you're gonna do this, and you're gonna do this, and you're gonna do that. Like,
I'm not as friendly. I'm much more introverted than he is. So I keep to myself a lot more.
Yeah.
People who don't spend enough time around me definitely probably think I'm a dick. I'm not. I'm really nice, but
You used to be much more reserved and quiet. Actually, you've sort of become more robust over the last few years.
Yeah, I've tried. I'm like that. I like, if I go to a bar, like I'll just sit there. I won't say a goddamn word to anybody. I'll just sit there and drink my beer and eat my French fries, and I'll be totally happy.
Yeah.
And like, he's more like, I don't know this guy. Like, how you doing? Where, what city are you from? Like, I've never been like that.
Yeah.
And I'm also a terrible drummer, so I don't know if I would have gotten good.
No, it would have been funny. Like you guys are saying the same thing. Like you start at the same level. You guys had no idea how to play instruments. And you're just like, okay, you're going to do this and you're going to do that.
Well, so the big thing was that no matter what instrument I was playing, even I maybe drumming, but no matter what instrument, I was going to be the singing. I was going to be the singer because like I was coming into it. That's the one thing I did do. I was a touring like choral singer, like and I'd sing like not like choral like Under the Sea. Like when I was like 10 to like 13 years old, I was in like a touring choir.
They used to make fun of them.
There's like 14 kids, and we went on tour. Like went to tour in Japan and stuff, like for a month.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and like did like so I did a lot of like vocal training. Like I'm like somewhat like trained vocalist. So like I
keep
knew
yourself up.
Well, what I'm saying is that like when we started playing music, that was the one thing I knew for sure. Like I could definitely sing, so like I'll at least sing. We just don't know what the rest of the stuff behind that will be.
Right.
Well, and Ian never really even had any interest in playing an instrument. Yeah. He just wanted to it was just our social activity.
Was not. Yeah, our bass player was non-musical. When we started the band, we would have to teach him beat. We would stand there and clap, and then he'd go bump, 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 and we like teach him the concept of like a beat. He didn't understand
how quickly you put that together because like he's the kind of mind where he can like he builds cars for fun. Like that's not a joke. Like that's what he does.
Yeah.
He does stuff like that. He's one of those kind of guys. Like he can sort of figure anything out anyway. So like he figured out how to. He didn't have any like there was no like anything inside of him that was like, oh, I should play music. Like he just figured out how to do it.
Yeah, it wasn't like an art thing. It was like the other brain. Like I don't know what's like left and right, but like so it's like it wasn't like I have to be an artist. He did like the technical, like I'll just do the technical bits to like make it sound like I know music.
Like he learned how to do it as like a practice. Like how to build an engine.
Yeah. But
very cool.
It's been a long road.
Yeah,
and I feel like it's like we're still at the start of it, which is great.
Yeah, I think you are too, and I wish you the best. And I guess we could probably wrap things up here. I don't want to keep you guys too long.
That was a good segue.
The wish you the best is always a good way. Like, all right, that's it. Stop talking.
I have dinner waiting upstairs, so I'm not going to complain.
No.
I don't think able to hold the pee too, but couldn't do it.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Can't thank either one of you enough for doing this for the first episode of this, the Popko Project. Thank you so much. And
first of all, I want to give you two suggestions. Number one, I think remember how you were doing the shows at like you're doing like you want to do like live shows that corresponded with your radio show?
Yeah.
You should do that for this. Like when you can start doing it. Like
yeah.
When there's shows, you should do like Popko Project live performance shows. I think that'd be really cool.
The Popko Project presents. Well, that's a lot of P's. We'll work on
triple P.
Triple P.
And,
we'll work on that. But yeah, I would love to keep doing that.
I actually don't know what the other suggestion was going to be, but I would just say like, first of all, you did a great job, and I'm excited to see the rest of the bands and everyone you bring on. And if you're watching this and you're in a band, be on this show. It's a lot of fun. And now you can finish your wrap up. Go ahead.
No, I mean, just thank you. That's all I could say is thank you.
That's great.
I had a lot of
Good
fun with you
time.
guys tonight, and I appreciate you more than you know. And if you have not heard Don't Panic yet, make sure you check them out on all the streaming services. They have a new album out right now called See Through It All. And Ted's brother is in Bowling for Soup, who will have a new album out next year. I don't know when the last time Bowling for Soup had new music, and forgive me because I don't know that answer.
So last year we put out one song.
Okay, that doesn't count. I mean, I'm talking like
New music.
all right.
It's like probably
Actually,
5 or 6 years ago.
We put out a bunch of we recorded a bunch of covers and put
He
them
meant a new album. He meant a new album. When was the last time you guys put a new album out?
The album was like 4 years ago. So
Okay, that's not as long as I thought it was going to be. But
that's long though.
regardless,
because, it's supposed to be more. Anyway, the new album comes out next year at some point.
Yeah.
Let's say the spring.
So very cool.
That's
It's awesome. No, I'm looking forward to that. Again, thank you guys so much for doing this for me
Thank you, man.
and being a part of it. Okay, we'll do
And
this.
you.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you very much. Like I said, that T-shirt, the Shirts for the Scene is live now. Once this posts, you can go to the website, thepopkoproject.com. There's a link there. Or you can go to the Popko Project Facebook page. It's linked up there, and you can buy a shirt of your favorite band or musician or photographer or whatever it might be. We're just trying to raise some funds for the those in the entertainment business this year, because this year has been dog shit for people in your industry, and I'm just trying to do the best I can to help out, because it's not good.
Yeah, what you do is appreciated, John.
Thank you. I hope it goes well. I'm trying to think. Let's take a real quick look here, because there is a counter here as to how much money was raised so far.
Damn, you guys already did. It's only been out for today, right?
Yeah, I just think I posted it at 6. There's $100 already raised.
That's awesome.
Before the show started.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I want, like, my goal was to put. What is this? What is this? What is this? I just want to help out where I can, and so that's what I'm doing. So
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Thank you guys again. I appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
We'll be in touch.
Rob. Thanks for watching,
Thank you, guys.
guys.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye.